Good Saturday to everybody and welcome to yet another season of Historic Racing Sports Community. This time we are here in beautiful England at Goodwood Circuit for round number 1 of the Open Wheel Racing Series. It's gonna be an thrilling season, it's gonna be an exciting season. We are back in the 1960s, time of flowers, time of hippies, and time when cars were still made out of car building materials. Aluminium, steel, and lots of power. Not much downforce in these things, and that's why we enjoy it. Here you can see the calendar on your screen. Now we got two series this season. We got the Formula B and the Formula A. So basically we got Formula 2 and Formula 1. You can see on the right hand side of your calendar the Formula B, which we'll be kicking off with round number 1 here at Goodwood Circuit. Then we'll go to Monaco, Côte d'Azur. Zandvoort is up in June. Then we go to Spa-Francorchamps, Silverstone, Nürburgring, Pescara, Brianza, Napoli, and Hockenheim. What a list of names, and on the left side you can see the Formula A calendar. East London, Monaco, Zandvoort, Spa, Silverstone, Nürburgring, Pescara, Brianza, Mosport, and Riverside. So it's mostly the same. So we're not putting these Formula A cars on Goodwood Circuit for a good reason. Now, if you wanna go historic racing, if you wanna talk about racing from the days bygone, there's no name that springs to your mind more than Goodwood. It is an absolute legend. These days, in our modern age, we know it for the Festival of Speed. We know it for all sorts of historic events. Back in the day, it was a relatively new circuit, opened in 1948, and here you can see the layout for the West Sussex Grand Prix. 9 corners, 3.8 kilometers, 2.4 miles, all the way from Madwick Corner via Fordwater, St. Mary's, Lavant Corner, and the straight to Woodcote and the chicane. And yes, you will notice they share a corner name with Silverstone. That would be Woodcote. And in both of those circuits, it is the last corner of the circuit, bar the chicane here, of course. So you can see the layout here. It is a pretty fast circuit. No real hairpin, slowest beat of the track, probably the last chicane before we head to the short main straight. Otherwise, it's a wonderful circuit for these wonderful cars that we'll see in action here today. And here you can see the starting grid of the race. So let's go to that one. Giovanni Kentrame for Alfa Sud Squadra Corse will be starting on pole position. Alongside him, a name many of you will be familiar with, Nils Sentkowski. And then we're already going to the next page. Matias Estrada, Ricardo Mendes, Lari Salmin, and Chas Kahler will be starting from 5th to 8th positions. And then it's gonna be Steph Hermans, Timo Weber, Gerard Rion, and Chris Okuda for Musubi Motorsport starting in 12th. Quite a lot of cars here today, so we'll be trying to keep you updated on them all. Filippo Marazzi, Quentin Chaviteau, Declan Brush, and Jennifer Shami, 10 in 16th position in that number 30 livery. Simple liveries here, fit for historic racing. Clem Fandango will be rounding out your 17-car field for the Formula 2 race here tonight. And I'm here with Nicholas Hillebrand, who is, of course, very well acquainted with this series and with these cars. Nicholas, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. A bit more chaos than initially anticipated, I'd say. But yeah, you know, just like back in this 1960s, nothing ever really goes to plan. Glad to be here in the end. Yeah. Months of preparation that flew into this, and yeah, it's just great to finally be here for round 1 in Goodwood.
Yeah, there's a lot of pride and a lot of sense of accomplishment when that first race is finally getting ready to get underway. So tell us, Nicholas, as you said, we are here in Goodwood. We are here with these 1967 Formula cars. So was that always the plan that you were going to go open wheel racing for this season?
Yeah, it's been a lot of work already in the last months leading up to this. Part of it was because we did have these wonderful Longford Memorial events going on, and the Longford Town Hall event where we simulated the Tasman Series race there. basically with the same F2 chassis as well, but with a bigger scale engine. And these, of course, are basically just the regular EVE F2s based on the Matra MS7.
Yeah.
With a 1.6 liter engine, and it was quite well received. And I thought, well, these guys do love historic racing. They love emulating a full series. So let's have a look at what we could do for an F1 and F2 kind series for this season.
Yep, and here we are. The grid is set for 42 laps of racing here at Goodwood. You can see them stacked on that classic formation, 3 wide, 2 wide, 3 wide, 2 wide. So in a staggered grid, they are getting ready to fire up those 218 horsepower, and we are underway. And it is a great start, 10 off the lead, and looks like it's gonna be a clean start as well as we head into turn number 1. As we head towards Madwick Corner here at Goodwood Circuit, and it is Sętkowski who takes the lead, and a couple of cars off then in lap number 1, and that's gonna be, I think that's gonna be Brush, who was then sent off, and car spinning as well, yellow flag in the first sector. You can see a bit of mayhem, bit of drama here right from lap number 1. Declan Brush here on your screens with that blue and white and blue livery, and Timo Weber involved in first corner as well. Now the good thing is that we don't seem to have too many casualties then heading into lap 1, so most of them still clean underway. But what a start from Sętkowski, who is leading the way, half a second ahead of De Vries. Then it's Centorame, Estrella, Kaller, Javito in that lead pack. Big gap then to Shami in 7th place, so it's a 6-car breakaway already on lap 1, and you can see the draft here working to their favor, working to their effect. No dirty air in these cars, of course. They have no downforce, so where would the dirty air come from? After all, I can see a move then from Javito going past Kaller, who went very wide indeed. Same thing for, I think that's Marazzi who lost a lot of time. Shami losing a position to Marazzi as they head to the end of lap number 1, and it's a bit of a double-edged sword, that start, Nicholas. We had some great starts, Sętkowski, for example, getting away very well, but a bit of drama as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I mean, with grids this tightly packed, it's always going to be a little bit chaotic. I mean, you can see it during the Goodwood Members Club meetings as well. But yeah, as you said, these cars don't have dirty air, they don't have downforce. They actually produce lift, as we have another yellow in Sector 1, and that's Declan Brush, our first DNF for this race.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. He was already off in lap number 1, and then sadly a DNF in lap number 2. Couldn't keep the race going now. Ricardo Mendes then challenging Arion for the 10th position, going up the inside, and that's a clean pass indeed. Arion surprisingly slowed and braking very early to that corner. Mendes, meanwhile, seeming to find the pace at this moment in time. Centorame, meanwhile, trying desperately to hold on to the back of De Vries, who in turn is losing handover fist to Sętkowski. So Nils Sętkowski, at least early on, maintaining a rapid pace indeed.
And we also had apparently a bigger disconnect from a couple of guys. And yeah, it's not quite optimal, obviously, but we have 13 people still running. Points are up to 8th place for both series, so running a slightly modified point system compared to what they used to run back in the day, but it does enable for a couple more drivers to still get some points for the championship.
Yeah, back in the day you used to have points to 6 best drivers, so it was 9 points for the win, 10, 6 for second, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we're running a slightly modified point system, Nicholas. Points up to 8 best drivers, and I think that is honestly a good thing, because points are free. Why not give them away to a couple more drivers?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the placing is in the end quite similar. So first place gets 11 points, 3 points more than P2 with 8 points. That one gets 2 points more than P3 with 6 points, and then it's just running down in 1 point intervals down to P8. So, you know, everyone still has fighting chances. Everyone has the possibility to run here as well. And of course, there's 2 drop scores in this season, one in the first 5 rounds and one in the last 5 rounds. So
just like back in the day.
A little bit there.
Yeah, it's just like back in the day. You used to have drop scores in Formula 1 all the way, I think, up to 1980s, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
So here we see Centrame once again challenging Rob de Vries. They're now 3.5 seconds back from the lead, but Centrame in a really good pace. 120.7 last time around compared to de Vries. 121.1, of course, you have to account for the draft a little bit. Then it's Quentin Chaviteau and Chas Collar in 5th and 6th. Here you can see the battle. Chaviteau a couple of seconds slower last time around, maybe making a slight mistake, and that has allowed Chas Collar to get right up to the tailpipe of him with his Bowfield engineering car. And as I said earlier on, 218 horsepower for these cars. That may not sound like much until you realize they weigh only 4,500 kilos. So that's still quite a power to weight ratio.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some of the FA cars are barely, well, much heavier. A couple of the FB cars actually run with Formula A engines as well, with a 2-liter, 2.5-liter, and 2.8-liter. So they are basically running ballast in these things to meet the minimum weight requirement for Formula A.
Yeah, I think it was... yeah, go on.
Yeah, around 500 kilos then, and then obviously around 75 kilos added for the driver. But other than that, you know, these cars are incredibly light.
They are. You can just see the size of that chassis compared to the size of the driver and those massive wheels as well. But remember, those are all-day wheels. Those are cross-ply wheels. These days you change tires after like 10 laps, 15 laps in open wheel racing. Mostly you run one session with them at most if they're hard compound. These guys run the same tires all season more or less. As you can see, the move 10 up to the inside. Chas Collar trying to go it by the grass but not quite able to pull it off. Meanwhile, we do have a DNF here, I believe, and it is Estrella 10 who is out. Matias Estrella from the 4th place is out of this race, and that's gonna be very interesting to see what happened there. Meanwhile, Chaviteau still trying to hold on to the position. Chas Collar challenging him all the way around his track. You can just see the pressure being put on, but excellent defensive driving from Quentin. Not quite, not giving anything away for free, despite being a little bit slower at this moment in time, not quite having the pace, outright pace. He's still positioning his car very well, holding on to the inside, doesn't slip away from the apex, doesn't give a chance for a crossover. Very good drive, and let's see how he does around this last chicane. Not an overtaking opportunity by any means. Gets a nice clean exit and is once again able to get away a little bit more, buying himself some breathing space.
Yeah, and it is quite a fight all the way through the grid. Centrame getting chased by de Vries for 2nd place. And well, once again, you know, you have still quite a lot of time gain you can get through slipstreaming, but you don't have, well, as you can see, not any downforces at all, mainly because these cars produce, in fact, lift. And yeah, now once again going to Lavant corner, if I see that correctly, and about to go onto Lavant corner onto Lavant straight, which also has quite a few kinks in it, so a little bit of a paradox there. But nevertheless, de Vries all over the back of Centrame. And while Senkowski is seemingly having a bit of a nicer time, getting slowly to walk away a bit and getting himself some breathing space.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nils Senkowski, of course, a very experienced driver. We see Filippo Marazzi there and having a little bit of an excursion through the grass. And that has allowed Gerard Rion get a little bit further away from him. So things happening all around the circuit. Meanwhile, Nils Senkowski 119.6. Oh, and that's Mendes. That's Mendes, very wide indeed, and losing even more ground to Steph Hermans. Now, Ricardo Mendes, I wonder how are you going to claw all that back, because he's in a relatively good space. No immediate threat from behind, but that's gonna change should he make a couple of more of those mistakes. We're only at lap 7, mind you, and these cars can be very treacherous. I know the lap times don't compare to modern cars, but they're very difficult to drive. You have to brake very early. You have to be right on it, and you can't allow yourself to brake too late. As we can see there, Chas Collar finally getting the move done. Now can Chaviteau fight back in that number 50 machine? Beautiful, beautiful, historic French livery, but not quite able to pull it off. So Chas Collar, after trying it out for what seemed to be an eternity, finally able to get the pass done. Now let's see how he runs when there is nobody to tow him along, when he has to get into that clean air. Even if we don't have dirty air here, clean air still has an effect in terms of driver's psyche, as you can often see. You get the pass done, you make a mistake in the next corner, Nicholas.
Yeah, final corner here again before they go through the chicane. Such a tight section there as well, with walls right next to the circuit, like a street circuit almost.
Yeah.
And as they very tightly go on, you can see them picking up a little bit of dirt there by Chascala. Just a slight bit too wide, but luckily not huge amounts of wheel spin that you would get the car sideways, maybe lose it, or have to slow down more to keep it safe. But either way, these two are battling away for the final, well, actually just overall, like for the right to be the first ones after the podium.
Yeah.
And yeah,
the golden pineapple.
Yeah, absolutely. But nevertheless, that's still a difference of 1 point. And as we saw back in the day, well, James Hunt beat Niki Lauda by, I think, even only half a point, if I remember correctly, in 1976.
No, that was 1984. Niki Lauda and Alain Prost.
Ah, sorry, yeah.
No worries, no worries.
But nevertheless, it can be very close in these times, and it's all about consistency and being able to, transform good results into the best possible, and well, keep the bad results as pretty much, well, your drop score.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, consistency is the key, and we have seen how little it takes to effectively be out of the race, especially with these old school tight circuits. As you said, this Goodwood circuit, it's almost like a street circuit when you look at it in a modern sense. But it is, of course, a very historic racetrack. It's being kept as is, and I'm very thankful for that, because you can still see what circuits used to be like, and you can get these cars in authentic surroundings of what it was like back in the day. But that also means you make a slight error, you slide a little bit wide. There's not like a tarmac parking lot waiting for you. You don't have to worry about any sleeping policeman on the inside of the curb or any of those high curbs. But what you do have to worry about are walls and other sort of objects. Maybe trees surrounding some of the circuit. You got armed co-barriers if you're lucky. And that means a slight bit of contact, you bend your wheel, you screw up your suspension, even worse, and your race is going to be absolutely done, and doesn't take much of an error. So in that sense, consistency is absolutely the key, and drivers do have to pace themselves over the course of the race. And Kowski looks to be doing some of that, lapping very consistently in the high 19s, low 20s. You can see his last time around a 120.0, I believe it was. Rob de Vries Centrame now in second place, and he would be around those same lap times, not dropping much anymore, in 4.5-5 second range, getting a bit away from Rob de Vries after getting that overtake done. And then it's a big gap down to Chas Collar in fourth place, who we saw getting by Javito very recently. So packs starting to form all around the circuit, 2-car, 3-car battle packs, but right now we're focused, rightfully so, on each individual and how they're able to get their season going.
Yeah, it should be quite interesting here for sure, because in the end you have to pace yourself. These are quite long races, and around 200 kilometers, 150 to 200 back in the day, and we did take these race distances from, well, the finals pretty much from the races back in the day, because back then they even had a first and second heat and then a final as well for each race event for Formula 2. So to keep it simple, we kept it to the final. Mainly those seats were there to basically limit, the huge amount of drivers that they got showing up every single weekend. And right now, obviously, we have this 42 laps here. Later for Formula A, 85 laps. So, quite long Grand Prix distances. Spa as well, later on in this calendar, 400 kilometers of distance.
That's almost an endurance race when you take the lap times into account as well. But it is, I appreciate that actually. Shamiten making a bit of an error there. I believe that is going through Lavang corner off to the Lavant Strait, which isn't a strait at all. I wonder how many corners Americans would put on the Lavant Strait, because I've seen how they name their corners. I've seen how they use their corner numbers. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I'm calculating that would maybe be another corner, at least one corner, and then maybe an A and a B. And Woodcote would be absolutely be corners like 11 and 12, just separating, because why not?
I technically Metric corner as well, the first corner, since it's more than 90-degree rotation, what he turns 1 and 2.
I still haven't found turn 2 in Road America. We have a theory that it's actually a vertical. And apologies for some technical difficulties.
With the server going on.
Apologies for some technical difficulties. We have some problems with the server, but meanwhile, let's hope that we'll be able to get you back in a working order soon enough. Meanwhile, Niklas, Goodwood Circuit, since we were talking about it, how familiar are you with this place? I mean, are you also one of those that when the Goodwood Festival of Speed is on and when the revival is on, you're just glued to the screen, effectively?
I mean, it's a completely unique event, so every Goodwood Members Club meeting I'm basically watching it, because watching these old cars pretty much sliding at the edge of the mechanical grip that they get, it's a lot more entertaining to me than, nowadays just 19 different series of GT3 cars.
Yeah. So even DTM uses GT3. Oh, we're back.
Oh, and we're back, yeah.
After a non-commercial commercial break. So Chas Collarden in 4th place, he's in focus right now, just 1.7 ahead of Javito, and that's a little bit surprising to me. I was about to bring that up before we got a slight interruption. Quentin Javito, we saw how all over his back Chas Collar was, and we saw Chas finally getting the overtake done. But since the overtake, I think Quentin has found a little bit more pace. A 21.7 last time around compared to 21.3 for Chas Collar, so he's not even half a second slower. That is still enough to grow the gap each and every time around, but I don't think Chas Collar can breathe easy just yet.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's barely a quarter of the way through. These cars obviously do have heat degradation in the tires as well, and I did see quite a few lockups from the different drivers as well, so they will have to look out that they treat the tires nicely enough to actually make it through the race, while they don't have to worry about fuel stops or anything. But the tires could be a quite big issue if abused for too long.
Yeah. No, they absolutely will overheat, even if these are old school tires. They're differently constructed, cross-ply construction as opposed to radial construction that started to see the light today in the late 70s, early 80s, even in Formula 1 racing. And cross-ply old tires, they look quite funny now. And these look like, one of those, I don't know if you have them over there, but when you do this, you have these kids' toys that you push around, effectively. And you make sand tracks and stuff like that. These look like the cars from back in the day. So it's funny how much racing cars developed from even in the late 60s to like early mid 70s. Like that's a huge leap in development. Because when you see a race car from like 1977, 78, Lotus 79 for example, it already looks semi-modern, and this was just 10 years earlier. And
that's the thing, this is basically at the edge of the invention of downforce, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is one of these like very, very interesting parts. At the end of 1967, they started putting, more and more winglets basically on the cars. The Brabham basically famously put winglets on at Monza, strangely enough, to maybe get a little bit more, a slightly different aero pitch on the higher speed sections, but also, for back in the day, you only really had Cova Grande, the two Lesmos, then Ascari, which was just a left-hand corner, and the final corner, Parabolica, sorry. I always mix those two up.
I mean, it's something, when you get that wrapped into your brain, it's a very easy mistake to make. if I'm honest with you. And looking at lap times once again, meanwhile, just mentioning something about Giovanni Centorame. Since we last looked at the gap between the leading duo, he has caught about half a second, 6/10 up compared to where we were last time. So last time around he was 1/10 slower than the leader, but it's by no means over in terms of lead. And I think Nils Sandkowski will be looking at the gaps each and every time they were shown from the pit wall, of course, when they cross the start-finish line, and we'll be seeing that gap go down a little bit and down a little bit, and it's gonna put some additional pressure, especially when you've been trying to settle into your pace. It can be very difficult to pick it up once again later on.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things where you really have to think about conserving the tires as well, because heat degradation over these longer race distances, it does really kick in hard. So, especially, for example, for the Formula A cars, you know, the heat degradation from the tires at all, just by themselves, that will cost quite a bit of time, you know, for the lap time wise. However, the F1 cars also start with, you know, 150 to over 200 liters of fuel on board back in the day, because fuel stocks weren't that normal. A couple of the drivers today might go for a pit strategy because of, the pace differential being big enough to actually make it viable.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm having a little bit of a, luxury point where they actually can alert their pit crew pretty much.
Yeah.
Actually coming in.
Yeah. Wasn't really a thing back in the day when the car came to the pit lane. It was like, oh, surprise.
And just waving out of the car.
Yeah, and mind you, having a pit lane as a separate thing was also a bit of a luxury back in the day.
Yeah, for Spa, for example, or for the race at the Nürburgring as well, it's basically just you veer over to the right side of the track and stop. And, you know, the others are just driving past still at full speed.
Yeah, and no pit lane speed limit either. So, apart from, I think, some places where like, yeah, please slow down a little bit on the pit lane, but otherwise it's just like, yeah, you wing it onto the pits, and then it just essentially send it to the pits, and good luck, try to get the service done as fast as possible. Now, times have changed, and what has also changed is the gap between Chas Kahler and Quentin Chaviteau. It seems like we've been talking about these two all race long, but for a good reason. It's been an ebb and flow battle. Last time around, Kahler lost 6/10, and all of a sudden the gap is back under a second. So it is the return of the Frenchman driving for Syndicate Gentleman, and he is looking to catch things right back up, and they do have a lapped car ahead of them as well, but they have been instructed, I believe, to act accordingly when blue flags are shown.
And this is, one of these moments when they really have to constantly, every corner essentially in these cars, you have to wage cost-benefit ratio, basically. You know, if you're braking that little bit earlier, a little bit later, whether it'll throw you back too far, or if you just go off the track and lose even far more than half a second, for example.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and it's just funny to see how on the outside you got a bit of a sand trap and a wall, and on the inside you got a field. And I'm not talking about like a smooth field. There's actually hay growing on the inside of the track, which is just lovely to see. I believe it was Jody Scheckter that once went through a hay field in Silverstone. Anyway, they get the lapping done in nice and good order, and Chaviteau is then back to chasing Kahler for 4th place. They're 20 seconds back from the podium, but as I mentioned, so many times things can change in a quick order. All of them taking some liberties with the last corner, just getting that sand up in the air, puffing up all nicely. Full crowds here watching the show unfold, knowing they'll have to be patient, knowing they'll have to bide their time with this one. We're not in for a sprint, we're in for a marathon with this one. Ricardo Mendes then on your screens. Mendes 9 seconds back from Chaviteau, and here you see Steph Hermansten coming into the pit lane, and this might be just what Nicholas was talking about there. I believe that might be tactical then from Steph Hermans. Getting into the pit lane, getting some fuel in as Timo Weber goes very wide indeed on the first corner and hoping it's going to be a net positive.
It could also be damage repair. I mean,
could be, yeah.
It's quite easy with the last chicane, especially to just slightly hit the inside wall. I mean, quite notably, we had, I think, an E-Type basically bash through the wall at the last Members Club meeting there and crash into another car. So, you know, it's very, very easy to, make a mistake into there and just hit that wall and, you know, break a bit of suspension that could have, maybe at low speed not as much, but the weight transitions in these cars, which are so important to get the car turned in, the car can just completely, you know, step out of line, so to say, and slide off.
Yep. An interesting comparison. There's this friend of mine, an old-time sim racer, who's been doing it forever, and his name is Joni Beckman, and he does superbike racing these days. Because of course, I mean, when you turn 40, you gotta go bike racing. That just makes sense. Anyway, he's doing superbike racing in Finland, and he mentioned when he drove the Lotus 49 on another sim, he said that this is the closest thing to a superbike that I've ever driven in simulation, including the bike simulations. Even though it has 4 wheels as opposed to 2, which is the big difference, and you're not really balancing with your body, how early you have to brake, how you have to turn the car in a sense, it's much closer to bike racing than it is to modern open wheel racing, for example.
Yeah, and on that note, we do a quick switch to a good friend of mine actually relieving me of commentary duty because I actually have to jump over to catch the quickest flight known to mankind from West Sussex down to South Africa and get on with my own duties as a Formula A driver. But yeah, I hope you welcome him as well. Bjorn.
Yes,
good afternoon.
Welcome, Bjorn.
Hello.
Hello. You are here to act as my partner here in the commentary booth for the remaining 23 laps of this race, and I believe you've had a chance to watch it for just a couple of laps here.
I've actually been watching. Yes, it's been a tight race, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been. Well, tied in places, I would say. In that we got these little packs that are forming, but I really like this. It sort of gives you endurance racing vibes, almost, which is my favorite type of racing. Even being a historic racing nerd as I am, unashamedly, admittedly, loving historic Formula cars, endurance racing is my favorite. So this kind of, you know, combines them to, and I'm just glad these guys didn't go for the sprint races. And these two guys, Kaylor and Javito, have been providing the entertainment. First it was Kaylor, who was trying to desperately get past Javito, looking much faster, and once he got past, he was able to open up the gap. The fight looked over, and then Quentin Javito just said pretty much nope, and now we got a fight going on. What is better than a fight with these cars? Still over 20 laps to go. You can see the stars, you can see the cars and the stars driving them, starting to wiggle a little bit in the corners, and that's a really good run for Javito, heading into turn number 1. Not quite able to do it here properly, but we are in for a good one there.
Oh yeah, I've been looking at this race here, and it's been under a second for at least 5 laps in a row now. I'm not sure. I mean, it's historic racing, so we don't have anything like DRS. But would it make a difference here? It's such a close race between Javito and Kaylor.
Yeah, no DRS. Simple explanation for that: no wings.
Exactly. Yeah, no downforce. Deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Deal with it. No downforce. You got lift. You got draft. It's just pure racing. So Kaylor then having to go a little bit defensive here. We're on board with Quentin Javito, Syndicate Gentleman is the team name, and I like how ominous that sounds in some ways. No, it's like, it seems like the operation for bad guys in the James Bond movie.
Yeah, exactly. They went for syndicates, but it could have just been like a cartel or whatever.
Yeah.
right now, coming back on a longer straight here, 218 horsepower underneath. Let's see what we can do here. Ooh, bit of a tap.
Yeah, slight tap to the wall, and here we have Javito then looking to the outside, looking to just follow the draft, not able to get the run into turn number 1 just yet. Just has to be cleaner through effectively holding his line a little bit better. You can see Chavito holding it a little bit tighter as opposed to Taylor, who is sliding a little bit wider in that corner, using more of the track. Neither approach is necessarily wrong, but it tells good things about Chavito and the condition of his cars, his focus and his tires, that he is able to hold such a tight line. Once again, being able to turn in just a tiny bit better. This left-hander is so important to get the exit just right, to be able to hold the line, not slide too wide, keep your rhythm through this sector right here. 10 turning right onto one of the longest straights on the track. You can see it here. They're coming back once again. Chavito looking to get all the draft. Is he able to get it done? Oh, I'm not sure, because we have a car that disappeared.
DNF.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Oh my, I hope this is just technical issues and this can be resolved, else this whole fight has been for nothing.
Yeah, they went onto the Lavana straight and 10 color just said peace out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, my people need me.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that it's just a technical issue and that's going to be easily resolved, so Quentin, Chavito and Color can keep their fight on. For the remainder of this race, we got a good more, I'd say, what's that, 17 laps? 19 laps to
19
go?
laps, I do believe. And don't worry, maths are, it's a sign that you're a proper commentator when you can't do maths, because I can't do either.
We usually have tools for that, don't we? Yeah.
So something else we've been watching here just a little bit, keeping a side eye on it, is the leading duo. You always have to keep at least one eye on the leader just to find out what's going on. Oh, and just as I said that the gap has blown up between Sankowski and Centorame just in the last corner, 1 second was added to it. I was about to say, it's been pretty consistently going down 1/10 here, another 10th there. But now Centorame lost about a second there in the last sector, so Sankowski able to breathe a little bit easier, but he does have a lapped car to worry about, which he is able to dispatch off quite easily. There we go, I believe that's Marazzi 10 in 10th position. We do have 4 retirements from the race as well. That would be Herms, Rion, Estrella and Rush, who was of course out from lap 2. Filippo Marazzi, Scuderia Prealpina, despite being in 10th place, a couple of laps down, he's still just 2 positions away from the points, so it is very, very much something that he should keep fighting. He should finish this race, see what happens, gain experience, nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. Like just finishing a race like this already gets a good race under your belt and gives you more to work with for future races. You don't have to win them all, you just have to finish them.
Exactly.
Could it be that Centorama is also in traffic now and they're therefore losing these seconds in this race?
I didn't see any traffic earlier when he was there, but he's in traffic right now. Yeah, he's trying to get past Marazzi now that Sankowski got it done, and that means their lap times might fluctuate a little bit. Of course, these drivers have been told, as you know, they have been told that there should be effectively slower car must let the lapping car through safely and quickly as not to impede it. Of course, both cars have the responsibility for it, but you are observing blue flag rules, and that's not always the case in all sorts of racing. Sometimes it's just, especially multi-class racing, it's like, well, good luck, just try to send it through.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
It looks like we have Color back on track. He's now a lap down, unfortunately, so let's see if he can bring it back into this race, but very, very unfortunate for our driver here.
No, that's not something we want to see, ever want to see. Sadly, technical difficulty is something one must deal with in this form of racing, much like you have to deal with mechanical difficulties in real life racing. You can have a 1 penny part that breaks and kills your $200,000 prize race, and it has happened countless times in motor racing, and it is usually the cheapest part that will break and end your race and potentially your bid for the championship as well. Oh, and we have another DNF that would be the brother of Grim, so that would be Clem Fandango.
Can we see what
sadly.
happened? What happened to him?
I
There's no
believe
yellows on track either, so...
so that would be, we're hearing it's a disconnect from Fandango as well, and that's a very sad thing indeed. So a few drivers being caught out with that. At least they can rejoin the race. However, that would be unfortunately one lap down. Now,
At least, yeah.
yeah, at least one lap down.
Oh, and a bit
Timo
wide for Weber.
Yeah, going very wide indeed. Now in 6th position, being able to gain 2 places as a result of those disconnects. And oh no!
Oh no.
We have Centrame from the 2nd place as well.
Oh no. It looks like Mendes is catching up on Jovito though. He's gaining quickly, only 3 seconds apart now from Mendes to Jovito.
Yeah. That is a very quick rate indeed. I wonder if something happened to Jovito. Look how rapidly he is losing time to De Vries and the cars.
Oh,
in
and
front.
very
General
wide for Weber
going-
again.
Yeah, but able to hold on to it. But yeah, I'm very curious what's going on with Chavito. I think we should go to Quinten Chavito right now just to see what's going on with him.
Oh no, looks like he blipped out.
No, that's
Oh, there he is. There he is. Good.
Yeah, Quinten Chavito. So here he is, and it looks to be going fine. Like everything on the surface looks to be going fine, but his lap times are absolutely tumbling at the moment. I wonder if he made a contact earlier and he's now struggling with damage on his car. Yeah, it's veering to the left, I believe.
Oh yes. Oh, he might have tapped something. And oh, a very close call to the wall on the left side there. Beautifully held there by Quinten Chavito. Racing down the straight now with Mendes on his back. 2.5 seconds split time. Mendes slowly catching up to Jovito here.
Look how difficult it is for him to turn right. Like even more difficult than normally with these cars. Especially turning right seems to be an issue, and that's where he's losing time. I'm curious to see how the left-hand corners are him. If they're any better or if they're similar, but that car looks to be understeering. It might be some suspension damage, might be something wrong with how it handles. Definitely something wrong with how it handles. Just having to wrestle it in each and every corner, and same thing going left. And you can just see how it's unbalanced. But what a save from Quinten Chavito. That's excellent.
Oh
driving.
my! I mean, this looks like a disastrous car to drive now. The handling, the corrections he has to make just to keep it on the gray stuff and not into the green. As Mendes is slowly catching 2 seconds now, so a couple laps, and Mendes will have his opportunity to overtake Jovito here for 3rd position.
Yeah, that would be a podium, and I don't think Ricardo Mendes was thinking he'd be on the podium just a couple of laps ago. But there you go, things can change very quickly indeed over the course of the race, as you can see here. And wow, what a race! What a race it's been so far. Race full of drama, race full of action, race full of unfortunate incidents, but also full of great stories. Mendes then just trying to get the lapping move done, able to hold the racing line into turn number 1, able to find the apex quite nicely as well, and now the 40-piece driver will be on the hunt versus Quinten Chavito, the French driver from Syndicate Gentlemen, as we mentioned earlier on. Quite an international field here. A lot of European drivers, as is standard, but we got a couple of drivers from outside Europe, none in this race, unfortunately. But we do have some of them. Nils Sandkowski, for example, he is very known in sim racing circles, has been in sim racing circles for what seems like an absolute eternity. I believe he is Dutch. Rob de Vries, judging by the name, very Dutch as well. Then we got Chavito, the Frenchman, Mendes from Portugal, Timo Weber, the German driver, and then Centrame from Italy, Giovanni Centrame. So that's a very international field indeed. Just like you saw back in the day, and a lot of them sporting the national racing colors, which is great to see too.
Great to see indeed, as Mendes has actually gotten the gap down to less than a second to Jovito here. Even in traffic, he was only losing a little bit, a couple of hundredths there in traffic, but now he's brought back that whole gap to under a second, 0.8 now. I think we're gonna see an overtake soon here.
Yeah, especially if he continues to go wide like that. Yeah. Yeah, wow. And we saw that save earlier on. He's definitely losing time here heading into the straights, and he has to, mind you, not only does he have to deal with a car that is not doing anything that he wants, he also now has to deal with Ricardo Mendes, who will be very hungry to get on the podium indeed. What a better place to be. No better place to be than a podium at Goodwood for these guys to start off the season. That would be everything that they want, but Chavito, I must say, fighting very bravely indeed. The fact that he's holding on to that car, the fact that he's seen the laps tick down, surely too slow for him. Still thinking, oh, still 12 laps to go, still 11 laps to go, still 10 laps to go, and each and every corner being a new adventure. That takes skill, that takes mental resilience, and that will be an uphill battle for him if he wants to hold on to this.
I'm sure man's a bit sweaty now, wrestling this car all around the circuit. At some point, you might start to think about a bit of a strategy here. Does he consider a pit after Mendes takes him, would you reckon?
Maybe, I mean, depending on the damage, he's got a 43-second gap to Timo Weber behind him. So that is a sufficient gap. He can hold on to fourth potentially, at least should be able to take a fight to fifth once again. But then again, you see that there's only a dozen laps to go. Will he be able to be full pit stop faster towards the end of the race? Probably not.
Beautiful camera angle on this one.
Yeah.
Look how close Chavito and Mendes are fighting now. Mendes 0.2, 0.3 behind. Better exit there for Chavito here. But here we go. Does he do the switchback? No, he can't make it work this time. But maybe next lap he'll get around to it.
Maybe.
Oh, gets his nose in, gets a little sniff.
Almost tapping the exhaust.
Oh, and then goes into a bit too deep there. Losing a little bit of time, but it's not over yet. This fight is just heating up right now.
Oh, it absolutely is. Quentin Chavito just trying to hold on to it. Ricardo Mendes just wanting that podium for himself, for Portugal, as well as for Magno Autosport in that number 38 machine. And oh, look how close he is as they head to the final chicane. And if he's able to take a good line through there, wanting to use every inch, which he does, then onto the main straight, they come once again, and just Mendes not quite close enough, but he's right there, but he just can't get alongside. Not just yet, he's having to find something in that bag of tricks that he's got from all those years of experience that Chavito just can't see coming. But look at him, just using every inch of the draft. Hold it flat to the floor through here, and maybe you'll have a chance through the next right-hander. Now Mendes looking to the inside. This is very brave indeed, and he's gonna be able to pull it off, at least on the entry. Will Chavito be able to get back on the left-hander? Next time by, get a better exit. You might have a chance alongside, but no, not quite able to fight back, and there's a clear reason for that, and that reason is the ill-handling car. So it's a deja vu from earlier on when Chavito lost that position, and then Chas Kahler, who he was fighting with, was able to get by, but there is still a chance. There is still a chance for them to fight, Björn, as we see Chavito looking to the outside.
Oh my, he's actually gotten the gap down to 0.1. There's a yellow in sector 1 now as the car goes wide here. That's Mendes, but keeping it on track and actually slowly getting away as they get back on that final chicane towards the main straight. Chatway corner coming up, 218 brake horsepower on this straight here as they, it looks like Chavito just can't keep up.
Oh, Setkowski
has DNF'd.
Yeah, Setkowski is out of this race, and we are hearing that is a crash.
An actual crash. Was that the yellow flag we saw bleep earlier?
Yeah,
maybe,
I think so.
Maybe that was Setkowski as he hit something.
Wow. So with 11 laps to go, Niels Setkowski, who's been leading this race right from the get-go, qualified second and then being into the lead, and we might be able to see a replay here, Björn. What happened to Niels Setkowski?
No.
Just understeering wide and into the wall.
Oh, poor dude. Oh, that is so heartbreaking to see. Such a beautiful race. Absolutely flawless race right up until that point. Now, De Vries, our Dutchman, is leading this race. Mendes 35 seconds behind us. Chavito 0.5 behind Mendes. This fight is not over. Ocean.
Not by any means. I mean, you got Mendes, you got Chavito, and who knows? These guys could be fighting for the win the way this has been going. I'm not trying to take anything away from Rob de Vries. I'm not trying to curse him or anything. But the way this race has been going with technical difficulties and crashes and such things, and de Vries suddenly finding himself in the lead, who knows? Something could happen, and then Mendes and Chavito could be fighting for the win.
This is the definition of racing. You always got to show up, and in order to win the race, you got to start the race first. You got to finish the race before you can win it. And this is exactly the position Rob de Vries has found himself in. Being in the right spot at the right moment, not making a single mistake and just keeping it up, now put him into the lead of this race with about 9 laps to go.
Yeah, and this is interesting here now. Chavito, now that he's lost that time, look at that's Centorame, who was of course spending a long time in second place, would be leading this race right now if it wasn't for his earlier disconnect. Must be quite gutted. He is a lap down on he's lap down on Mendes, he's lap down on Chavito, but he is a lot faster than Chavito right now, so he wants to get past. He wants to claw something else out of this race, maybe try and utilize that lap time advantage, or at least able to drive his pace, but that's not to be. Meanwhile, Timo Weber from 4th place is into the pit lane, and I believe that might be due to repairs at this moment in time. It doesn't make sense pit strategy wise. So Timo Weber in pit lane for Bowfield Engineering.
With 8 laps to go, a pit does seem like a hard necessity. Honestly, I'm thinking Chavito with two seconds now gap to Mendes might also consider another pit just to make his life a little bit easier to prevent that DNF, especially with a gap to Centorama. It's increasing for some reason.
Yep.
What is going on with Centorama here?
Oh, Centorama is nothing is going on. He's in the screens. It's just that he is no longer, I believe, he is a full lap behind, and that gap is looking to technically to Sendkowski right now. So it's a little bit, and to Weber. So it's a little.
My bad, and please do excuse my inexperience with how this works here.
No worries.
For the people at home.
Yeah. For all our millions and millions of viewers.
Exactly. Yes. For all the people at home watching. As we have Weber into the pit still, as we have a 2.5 second gap from Chavito to Mendes, our P2, who has a 36-second gap to our leader, De Vries, number 44, leading this race with only 7 laps to go.
Yep, not too many to go. We're in the final stretch, but those are 7 very difficult laps indeed, and we are watching Centorame. Just once again, these guys are not fighting for position, in case somebody is confused. They are not fighting for position, but in a sense, they are sharing the same piece of real estate. And technically, Centorame shouldn't be able to challenge Chavito by the rules, but he is much faster. And here you can see the replay of what happened to Timo Weber exactly. I believe that's going to be contact into the last.
Oh!
That's
he just missed the corner.
Yeah.
Completely missed the corner. Fantastic rejoin though, so we have to give him props for understanding the rules and not making it a dangerous situation. His brakes maybe just didn't work or something.
Yeah, Centorame going for the move once again versus that struggling car of Chavito. And that's again the last thing that you want when you're struggling with a damaged car is somebody alongside you, because what it's doing is it's making you concentrate on something else than driving. It's compromising your line, and you can see there Chavito going very wide indeed, just about able to hold on to it, and Centorame is able to get the track position back. Meanwhile, that's also Centorame side by side with trying to figure out who that is, the number 37 of Chas Kahler. So Chas Kahler and Centorame are fighting despite not being on the same lap. And then you have Chavito, who is ahead of both of them in standings, now behind both of them on track, as we can see Centorame going very wide indeed. And they have a 3-car battle here, not for position, just for the fun of battling, I guess. Chavito looking to the outside into turn number 1. That is a very risky proposition indeed with the way his car is handling, but he's able to pull it off very nicely. And I think Chas Kahler was being a bit of a gentleman here as well, not wanting to fight that one too hard.
I'm really impressed with the level of skill being displayed here by Chavito. As we saw his car handling earlier, the amount of wrestling he has to do just to keep it on track, and now sticking in a 3-car battle so close to each other without making a mistake, that's real skill right there.
That absolutely is, and back in the old time racing, drivers often communicated with their hands. And I'm not talking about international single finger
with
hand
the
gestures.
international signal, yes.
Yes. Also doing a lot of other things that you see in karting these days, like showing manually that, hey, get past me. Or raising their right hand, for example, hey, I got a problem. Just to notify the other drivers. Because you can see it back in the day. These days they all got radios and you got team communication, but back in the day that was a simple form of communication, and you can see maybe Centrameten could have used the hand signal to signal to Chavito that, hey, get past me, that's fine. You are ahead and there is no point with 5 laps to go, just essentially fighting you. I think they all saw that it was getting a little bit hairy and just thinking, okay, we are all in point scoring positions here, let's just calm down a little.
Maybe you can educate us a little bit, Ossian, as we have 5 laps to go indeed. What is the current format? Can these drivers communicate as they are on track and fighting close battles like this?
Well, they can communicate in a sense that they are on Discord, and they can communicate via other means. If it's not on Discord, I'm not seeing too many drivers in that particular voice channel. Maybe they are in some hidden channel, so you can communicate if you are in the same voice chat. Sometimes good friends do it, people who have raced together previously, people who are teammates, for example. They might be joining the same voice chat, but usually you can if you share a voice chat with somebody. As for in-game communication, that I'm not sadly quite sure about. I don't think there is a system, because usually when I've been involved in these series, it's been external communication.
Fair enough. Then maybe you can educate us further. Like, do these teams have like a team management? Do they have like a spotter or what we call I can't come up with the word. Like somebody that helps you out from the garage that can check out the gaps.
Or
the mechanic, yeah, or the engineer, exactly.
Well, not in this series, at least not here that I can see. I highly doubt there would be like a specific team manager, specific mechanic. You have spotters, which also act as your engineers in endurance racing, in sim racing usually. Ooh. And Chess Caller is back in the parking lot.
He is in the parking lot, yes, I was just gonna say. Chess Caller, not sure what happened to him, but that looks like a full-on DNF and not a disconnect here. That's unfortunate, because we had good racing earlier in this race between Chess Caller and I think it was Chavito, or was it Santorama, I forget. But we have a replay here.
Heading into turn number 1 and just going wide and just understeering wide, and yeah, this is gonna hurt.
Oh, wow. Oh my.
Hard into the wall.
Hope Chess Caller is all right there. That is, I think we saw him earlier when he had when he missed the last chicane. His brakes might have been failing. I think we might have seen a little bit more of that as he tried to brake and his car just said no.
Yep. So brakes definitely like these cars, they have wear and tear as the race progresses. We've been racing for an hour here, so they are not brand new. They are not brand new from the factory. They have all sorts of wear and tear on them, brake fade, tire fade, overheating, all sorts of things that you have to take into account. Mental fatigue as well. It's not mentally easy to focus for 1 hour. Just, there's a reason why school classes are mostly 45 minutes. Because it's hard to concentrate for any time longer than that, and that doesn't require you to actively wrestle a car from 1960s around a tight racing circuit with other people around you that has the power to weight ratio of 0.5. So that means you got 218 horsepower, yeah, but it only weighs 4,500 kilos. As we can see, Clem Fandango there, last driver currently running, but I believe with Caller's DNF and with Sentkowski as well out of this race, Fandango, who is 2 laps behind,
outside.
might
Just
get
outside
the last point.
Oh, might just get into the points, yes, exactly. Yeah. So the 45-minute part is fun, as you mentioned, because of course they're not dealing with actual G-forces, we are sim racing, but as we say, a lovely saying that I keep coming back to, the cars may be virtual, the cars may not be real, but the racing is very real.
Yeah, indeed. The racing is very real, and sometimes I know people who have actually gotten injuries from crashing in sim racing. That's mostly direct drive wheels and being slightly careless with your thumb placement.
Fair enough.
And there is also this old-timey story that is probably older than 10 or 15 years, who is with someone who had back in the days before direct drive wheels, somebody had a faulty connection to the table. Back when you didn't have sim rigs, you have just screwed them onto a table. Faulty connection to the table. Essentially the wheel dropped onto his lap, and there was some problem with the. Well, you can picture the rest. Let's put
Yes, I can imagine the gruesome horror that would have ensued within the race at that point.
Yeah.
So, at this point, we have
and also between his legs.
We have 2 laps to go here, with Rob de Vries leading, 36 seconds out from Mendes. Looks like a very comfortable spot to be in. Can we go over the story of this race, Ossian? With our, is it 7? No, it's 6 DNFs. So Collar, the most recent DNF, ran it into the wall, probably a brake failure there. Zentkowski also looks like to me like a possible brake failure. What happened to Hermans, Rion, Estrella, and Brush there?
So Brush early. Well, to start off any story, it's of course it was a dark and stormy night. So Brush, Declan Brush got involved in an accident early on, I believe, with Matias Estrella, and Gerard Rion was involved in some shenanigans there as well. Declan Brush was DNF'd in lap 2 as a result of that. Post that, we've lost Nils Zentkowski to an accident. We've lost Chas Collar to an accident. Other than that, it's been mostly drivers sadly disconnecting from the server, technical
issues. And how unfortunate it may seem, because it is virtual racing, technical difficulties are part of the job. If it could be internet, it could be a technical failure with your rig, it could be a failure with your wheel, with your pedals, it doesn't matter. Technical issues happen in real racing and over here. And because of that, we have Rob de Vries out in the lead, 36 seconds out, beautifully driven, not put his foot wrong at one point at all, putting him in this beautiful position here to win this first race.
Yep, driving for Ecurie Helderseveld. Help me out with that one.
Helderseveld.
Thank you. It's Dutch, in it.
Yes, I assume it is Dutch.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but I assume it is. So Rob de Vries now leading. I think we're on our final lap here.
We are.
And yes, it looks very comfortable from that position with 30 seconds of a gap behind you. You don't even have to do it quickly, you just have to finish.
Exactly, and this is the time when you can easily lose focus. You can easily, your mind starts drifting to the champagne,
as
to
it goes into the final chicane. And onto the final straight, and that should be checkered flag.
It is checkered flag for Rob de Vries, who wins round number 1 of the historic historic racing sports community. Formula B race here at Goodwood. What a race indeed. What a effort from Rob de Vries. He was able to avoid all the issues, keep his concentration, keep his focus for 42 laps, and then it's Ricardo Mendes for Magno Autosport, fighting for a long time. Didn't look to be a podium candidate early on, but he persevered and he fought on and is able to bring home the second place, 15 seconds ahead of the man who I will personally give the Fighter of the Race award, Quentin Chaviteau. He was able to wrestle this thing somehow, using all his willpower, wiggling across the line, taking a podium here at Goodwood. It was a fight for Quentin. What an absolute
I'm honestly so impressed with his drive. Like, the amount of wrestling he had to do just to get that car over the line, not crash and not lose more positions than he did. Absolutely brilliant piece of racing there from Quentin Chaviteau. I know as a commentator you shouldn't have a favorite, but that man is my favorite for driver of the day in this race.
I think we all do have at least soft spots, but here you can see the historic racing sports community open wheel racing series Formula B round 1 results. Rob de Vries taking the win here at Goodwood, just ahead of Ricardo Mendes, with Quentin Chaviteau rounding out your podium. Timo Weber taking 4th place, Giovanni Centrame then in 5th, with Jennifer Shami in 6th. You got Filippo Marazzi in 7th, Chas Collar 8th, but DNFing, still able to, I believe, get the point, just completing enough laps. Nils Sandkowski, what a tragedy for him, led for a long time, but sadly ended his own race with just a dozen laps to go. And 10 Clem Fandango out of this race as well, as was Steph Hermans, as was Gerard Rion, Matthias Estrella and Declan Brush. So your 14 driver field 10 got reduced to less than a 10, but what an achievement it was for those who did manage to finish this race. Promising to be quite an exciting season.
Absolutely. This was just race 1, and what a race it was. A bit of technical unfortunalities for some of the racers here, but a good race nonetheless, especially with this result here and the amount of wrestling we've seen. But this is just a warm-up towards Formula A, coming up very soon, I think.
Very soon indeed. And in Formula A, mind you, it's not going to be sharing the same circuit. It's going to be East London circuit in South Africa. They're already on drivers briefing there, and what a field it looks to be. Names from all across the top of the sim racing world. 85 laps of East London circuit in these full power machines, ranging from anywhere to 300 to 400 horsepower. Just old school race cars. You can see the layout there. It's very simple, but it's very effective. No one knows what will happen yet. The only one way to find out will be to join us in a few moments time. But before that, we will have some interviews for you as soon as these drivers get joined in. And I do believe we already have the first interviewee here getting ready to join. Björn, you want to take him or should I?
You know what? Because you are my favorite driver of this race, Quentin Chaviteau, welcome to the booth. That looked like an intense race. What happened in the end there that you were wrestling the car so much?
Yeah, thank you for having me first. It's been a pretty intense race for sure. I saw myself like dropping into the order after a very good start, but somehow the guys in front were dropping as well, so I gained position without fighting. And I just had no tires at the end of the race. Like the last 10 to 15 laps were really painful. Like I had really dead tires, but the issue is you expect dead tires to have like less grip and make the car slide everywhere. But this was the complete opposite. As I couldn't drift the car anymore, I had massive understeer everywhere.
Okay. It looked to us like you might have maybe had a little bit of suspension issue there, but it was just dead tires then. I mean,
I had a very slight tap to the chicane very, very early on, like in the first 3-4 laps. That didn't affect the car, I think. I didn't feel anything at least. It was really just the tires, because I didn't hit anything after that. So it was just the tires that wouldn't let me turn in the car anymore.
That's fair enough. I mean, honestly, it doesn't really, in the end, doesn't really change the outcome. You managed to come in third. Are you happy with that position?
Oh yeah, definitely. I qualified like 13, something like that, like very down the order. I honestly couldn't practice enough, like as much as I would have wanted to. My race pace before the tide dropped, my race pace was way closer than what I would have expected in the order, so I'm quite happy with that. But a lot of the results comes from the start, but I have no clue how many positions I gained, but that was pretty insane. And after that, it was just the consistency of putting laps after laps. Had a very good battle until half of the race where sorry, I don't have the name, but my opponent.
Yeah, it was Collar.
Yeah, it disappeared just in front of me. That was a pretty scary moment. But that was a really good race with him until that. And then, yeah, as I said, just the guys in front that were having issues on their own and just putting laps after laps make me on the podium today.
Well, congratulations, Quentin. Beautiful race. Absolutely enjoyed your performance there. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the final result of your race with Collar, but maybe next time, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and enjoy your podium.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Quentin Jovito right there with us in the booth. Unfortunately, not as a exciting ending towards the suspension issues that we thought we could see. Just tires, but that's fine. That's also racing.
Yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, in the pictures, we have already arrived to East London Circuit. I hope, my hope is really that Nicholas' flight landed on time, because that must have been a quick one. And then we are getting ready for some Formula A racing. And wow, if Formula B was interesting, tell you what, you are in for a great one. Here you can see the track layout once again. East London Circuit. It wasn't raced much in Formula 1, but it was raced back in the day, back in 1960s. And Potter's Pass Curve, Rifle Bend, Cocobana Corner, you go all the way to Beach Straight, and then the best, one of the best corner names, I believe, in entire racing, Butts Bend.
Oh, I don't want to rain on your parade here, Ossian, but I do think we have the winner of Formula B right waiting for us. So maybe we should drag him in and you can have a chat with him.
Okay, just this once we'll have a chat with the winner of the race. Of course, Rob de Vries win here at Goodwood. What a start for your Formula B season. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, it seemed fun. So tell us about your race. You were starting at the start. It was a little bit hectic, but then it grew quieter. Let's put it that way. How difficult was it out there today?
Yeah, it was not too bad. The start was good. I was amazed. I didn't really have anyone in front of me. I got overtaken by Niels, I think, and then I just did my own race. Who was behind me? Forgot his name. Giovanni Santorame. He was behind me. He was quicker. He got past me right in the beginning somewhere. I couldn't really keep up with him, so I just did my own race and stayed on track. And that was the most important thing, I think, today.
No, it absolutely was. We saw Nils Sandkowski sending it into the wall with 10 laps to go or 12 laps to go. We saw some unfortunate technical difficulties there, but you were able to keep it on the track. How was concentration-wise? How difficult was it? Because it's not an easy car to drive, as far as I understand, and it's not an easy circuit, and it can punish you easily, as we saw there. So was there any tricks to keeping your concentration, or was it just essentially doing what you've been doing and trusting your experience?
Yeah, that and just not going over the limit. That was really it. And it was quite lonely out there. So just keeping focus was, well, it was a trick, but there were some moments, you know, some sideways moments when you really thought, well, oh, okay, I have to pay attention now. But luckily I kept it all together, so that was good.
Quick question, by the way, Rob. How exactly do you pronounce the name of your team? Because I was thinking, Ekuri Herder7. No, I'm not going to even try that.
Yeah, that's quite good. Herderseveld. Ekuri Herderseveld.
Herderseveld. Okay, got it.
The Ekuri part I didn't get, but fair enough.
Okay. So how about next time around? We are going to Monte Carlo for round number 2. Another easy circuit.
No. This, we'll have to see, but you know, you have to be even more focused, I think. And the walls are so close. There are so many turns, so many shifts you have to do. So that's going to be fun. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is, of course, being joking with the easy circuit part. But yeah, it's gonna be fun, and it's another legendary name in the world of motorsport. Well, Rob de Vries, congratulations for your victory. If there's anyone you would like to thank, then feel free to do so.
No, that's all right. Thank you to all who are organizing this event and this series. It's really fun. Such a unique thing in sim racing as well. So really a lot of fun to be a part of it. And thank you guys for the commentary and all that. So yeah, good start to the season, and let's keep it going.
Enjoy your win, mate. Enjoy.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Congratulations, Rob, once more. And that was Rob de Vries then winning round number 1 of the Formula B Championship. And we are still waiting for things to get underway here at Formula A. Let's go through some of the names while we do so. Because, I mean, of course, when you look at famous names in the world of sim racing, in the world of R-Factor 2, Jerzy Simoncic multiple times has been at Virtual Le Mans, has been on every big series. Then you got Ross McGregor, for example, famous names who have done a lot of racing, Liam Dolan, just mentioning a few. And then you got famous names from not only racing but also content creation. Rhys Gardiner, Mr. Southpaw Racer himself. It's great to see Rhys back out on the track competing with Matt Wright on the Eculi Australis racing team there. So a lot of great drivers here. Simoncic there, Rafa Racing Club. You can see him with number 1 on his livery, rightfully so. The driver representing Slovenia. And he's there. You can see that famous Honda livery, very much so. You can just it's instantly distinguishable. And I think, Björn, it's one of those things when you look at 1960s racing, when you look at old-time racing, those national liveries not yet spoiled by sponsorships and things like that, which just creates a whole different kind of atmosphere.
Absolutely, Ossian. They are beautifully clean and well done. Look at the magnificence of these machines. I mean, the actual cars do differ a little bit in comparison to Formula B, where it's all spec. They have their different team cars here right now. Power ranging from 265 brake horsepower all the way up to 420 brake horsepower. But of course, these cars have their own trade-offs. They are a bit heavier, they might accelerate a bit quicker or less quick, and they might have different handling types. So this race is definitely an interesting one to watch. So definitely stay tuned for that race, as we are currently in warm-up. And I've been told that we are moving to the race fairly quickly, so we can just see the underboard, the floorboard of Matty Shepherd's Vulcan racing car being shredded a little bit just before we start the race. So they are just warming up, getting these cars and their mindsets ready to go for what I believe is going to be quite a long race. So definitely stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Grab yourself a drink, as we are getting into this race fairly soon.
Yep, it's good to have a drink and good to grab some snacks as well. Maybe a comfy position on your recliner, on your sofa, on your computer chair, wherever you are, and just enjoy this race, because it's gonna be a good one. And most likely it's gonna be something that you might not have seen before, at least not in a mainstream sim racing. Niklas mentioned earlier on, when we got about 19 different GT3 series, it feels refreshing to get some historic Formula racing going on. Now, a couple of facts about this circuit. It's located in East London, South Africa, and it hosted the South African Grand Prix in 1930s, then in the early 60s and mid-1960s as well, before that got moved to Kyalami circuit. But it is very, very much a old-time circuit, almost 100 years old, and I do believe they are still they might be still having some historic racing there, at least. So it's one of those historic circuits that hasn't thankfully been turned into a parking lot.
What is happening to Ted Hodo? He's did I just mispronounce his name incredibly wrong? I'm not entirely certain, but he just jumped back to pit as he, I think, failed just to make a corner there. It looked very weird. Of course, it is only warm up, and it really doesn't matter that much. I think we're just starting, and we're moving into grid. Ossian, take it away, as I think we're getting ready for that race.
We are indeed, and here you can soon see the grid for the start of this Formula A race. Devin Brown, Bert Knops, Niklas Kirsten and Nicholas Hillebrand taking the top 4 positions. Then you got Jelena Simoncic, Martin Bayer, Matty Shepard and Danny Foreman 10 in 8th position. Then we got the next 4 cars right up here. Cherry Ferry, Riley Wines, Darren Andrews and Austin Birchfield in 12th position. Lots of cars here today, promising to be an exciting race indeed. Reese Gardner starting 13th, Franek Godrechki 14th, Ted Howe and Ivanvi Fleer, I believe that name is pronounced, starting 16th. Then you got David Bacasseledon 17th, Robin DeVos 18th and Jackson Robillard rounding out your 19 car field here at East London Circuit. It's gonna be a good one. I can't really wait for the start of this.
I can absolutely imagine, like the 19 grid car on a circuit like this one. This is just round 1 of the whole race, and I think we're getting ready to get this race underway. This is gonna be a good one indeed, Ossian.
It is going to be. So you can see just slide a little bit of a bounce then from number 5, Bert Knops, just trying to get himself situated for the start. But here we go. Green flag is in the air.
And the race is underway as number 3 and number 5, I think from the same team, get a great start. Number 5 just getting a little bit of a better start, closing up that gap right there as we head into turn 1 here in South Africa.
Wow, that is a clean start indeed for everybody. A little bit of wiggling then further behind the field, but it is Brown from Hillebrand, from Knops, Bayer and Simoncic 10 in 5th position. A top 4 breakaway looks imminent until Bayer makes that mistake then on the turn number 3, and that means he's gonna lose just a tiny bit of time. But they are all underway and they are all going until the yellow flags there. Yeah, yellow flags, and looks to be very unfortunate there on lap number 1, and that is Austin Birchfield 10 into the wall, or at least has made some contact with the wall, is able to get back going, but how damaged is his car is the question, as the leaders are still going on. Braune, what a great start for him, just leading by 1.5 seconds already from Hillebrand and Knops and Bayer, who are busy fighting for 2nd, for 3rd, for 4th. Danny Foreman is the driver we are following right now, just behind, just ahead of Cherry Ferry, just behind Kirsten there. 6th, 7th and 8th very close together, and you can just see this all-time racing circuit, sparks flying under the car and with absolutely nothing excessive alongside the track. It's just a track and then some walls for good measure, as we see what happened to Austin Birchfield, and that's just a slight error, lap 1, lack of concentration, a bit too fast in the corner.
That's just unlucky, an unlucky start for Austin Birchfield right there. I'm glad he got his car running, and maybe he can find a way back into this race here. It's not over until it's over, as we have a very close gap up in the front with Knops, Bayer being very close to Simoncic, also getting in there, but Braune definitely creating a bit of a gap, leading by 2 seconds over Hillebrand right there at the start of this race in South Africa.
Yep. And that is a good start for him. Good, as we can see Hillebrand and Knops side by side. Then Knops looking to the inside, Hillebrand on the outside in that red machine. Can Hillebrand hold on? No, he can't quite. Ends up losing the position, tries to go for a crossover, but no room there. So as they head to the start-finish straight, once again, you can see them just wiggling, using every inch of the track available. And then some. Scuderia Favero, Nicholas Hillebrand, who was joining us in the commentary for the early parts of the Formula B race, now here showing how it's done in Formula A, still holding on to podium. But you can see not only does he have Bert Knops ahead of him, he's got somebody behind him he should be very, very worried about to get ready to fill up his mirrors. That is Jelena Simoncic in 4th place, and if I know Jelena, I know he won't be happy with the 4th place. He's going for a podium, he's going for a win here.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't personally know Simoncic yet, Jernej, but from what I've read, he is a man to be to take seriously when it comes to racing here. As it's only lap 3 out of 85 laps to go. Braune out in front, almost 4.5 seconds out from Knops, as they are fighting. Knops and Hillebrand fighting for that position, for that P2, but Braune is just driving away, creating that gap, creating that comfortable lead, you could say, early on, so he can have some options to play with for strategy in this race. Ossian, can you educate us a little bit? How is it rule-wise? Oh, as we see Robin de Vos losing it, going absolutely wide. Let's see if he can keep this car going and get back on the track. Oh my, that was a scary moment there. Code brown for Robin de Vos.
Absolutely. Yeah, you were asking.
Yes, can you educate us on the rules here? Do they have to do, what are the pit rules? Do they have to pit? Do they have to switch tire types? What are we working at here in this first race of this season?
So they don't have to pit. There is
They don't have to?
Yeah, they don't have to pit. Some of the drivers might be pitting. It's completely up to the driver. In historic racing, when you look at the racing from 1916s, pit stops weren't often done. They were sometimes done, but there were no modern-day well-drilled pit stops, especially for refueling. Sometimes you might need to change tires or just fix the car up a little bit, but it was a longer operation, and usually at that point something had gone wrong. And another curiosity, which our director reminded us in our earpiece as well, and which is a historic thing we talked with Nicholas on Formula B race, there was no pit speed limit back in the day.
So you can actually race in the pits. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can just drive into the pits as fast as possible, and there's in some circuits you might not even have a pit lane. It was just an extension of the main straight to the right-hand side or to the left-hand side with some garages, and off you go, and good luck, as we see Simoncic 10 trying to challenge Hillebrand for the final podium position. Not quite able to pull it off yet, but the challenge has been thrown, and we talked about it only like 1 or 2 laps ago, how Jernej was up to 4th place, and now he has already caught up that 1.5 second gap, essentially right under the tailpipe of Hillebrand, looking to put on the challenge. And you said, Björn, that you don't know Jernej Simoncic yet. Well, you were about to get a crash course.
Let's go. I'm here for it. This race, only 4 laps in, 85 laps in total. And we have got Simoncic, Hillebrand fighting it out, as Simoncic actually closing that gap to 0.4, 0.3 even right now on the main straight here. Best lap time, fastest lap now by Devin Braune, 1:24. I think he's creating a very comfortable lead for himself here.
Yeah, he is. Braune has been able to get a very good start, but we saw in the last race with Niels Sandkowski how quickly those leads can disappear indeed. And you're looking at these cars compared to one another. Hillebrand, I believe, is driving the Scarini with 360 horsepower, and we got Simoncic with the Honda that has 390 horsepower, a little bit more horsepower. It is, of course, a heavier car too, but it was historically as well the fastest car usually on a straight line, especially later on in its engine development. So Simoncic very much using that to his advantage, as he is using the draft too that he's got from the back of Simoncic's car. So you can see them there heading to the left hand, but then the tight hairpin that they are coming up to before the main straight. No, that's not quite yet. They're heading onto the long uphill straight instead, as even I'm getting confused with this London's track layout. Here's the hairpin then, turning right, very the tightest corner on the track, very tight corner indeed. You have to keep it nice and tidy, but don't cut too much, because that high curb on the inside, a standard of the tracks back in the day, it was a very high curb, a very steep angle that can throw you off balance very quickly. Simoncic is going for the move.
And there's nothing Hillebrand can do.
Oh,
actually
no!
went
Locking up the brakes, but just able to turn it in, just locking up the brakes. You can see his car going straight, and there was nothing he could do, but okay, realize the corner is lost, just go straight, try to get it slowed down and accept the loss rather than spin it into the wall. But that's a tragedy then for Nicholas Hillebrand, going all the way from the 3rd place to 9th position as of right now. He's gonna have a mountain to climb if he wants to make it back from that one.
Absolutely. 6 places lost in one corner just because of a lockup or a wrong braking point there. Very much.
Yard. Big slide.
Okay. As I was talking about Hillebrand there, I think he actually... No, Robillard is driving still. It looked like he was controlling his car a little bit, slowing down just to get that control back. But right now he's back in that race, not losing too much time. Hillebrand losing 6 positions in one corner there because of a brake failure or brake misalignment, I'd say. Simoncic now on the podium, following and hunting for Knops. He's not done yet, I think. As Devin Browner keeps slapping in fast lap after fast lap. Already broken the 123s here. He's now on a 123.9. Creating a very comfortable lead. 6 seconds out to Knops from P2. Simoncic 3.5 seconds behind Hunting. This race, only 7 laps in, is just getting started.
Yeah, and here is Reese Gardner, Mr. Southpaw Racer for Equity Australis in 12th position. Beautiful livery, by the way. Yellow and green, those Australian classic colors, chasing down Riley Wyans, who is from Southern Speed Factory, racing for USA. I might thought another Aussie when I heard that name, Riley Wyans, but nope, he's American. So it's an American versus an Australian fighting in 11th and 12th. Meanwhile, you can see this big pack behind Kirstenten. It's Foreman, it's Ferry, it's Bauer, Shepard, Hillebrand and Godrechki, all in that same ding-dong battle, trying to settle their rights to each individual position. Nicholas Kirstenten leading them on for now, but if you ask Danny Foreman, he's not going to be doing that for long.
As we look at Danny Foreman with half a second towards Kirsten, who is 5 seconds, almost 4.5 seconds, really taking out the time now to Simoncic. Don't forget, you were talking about his car earlier, the Honda. Yes, it has 390 brake horsepower, but it is almost 100 kilos or 200 kilos heavier than the Scarini there. So that weight really transfers into straight line speed there.
Yeah, it's a big and heavy engine that they were making back in 66 and 67. Not quite the most successful car back in the day. Able to get some success later on, historically speaking. Then they made a car out of magnesium at one point. That less said about that, the better. And then they were out of racing. But good to see the Hondas represented here. Jerry Sheridan, the Lithuanian driver for Amber Collective Autosport.
Name.
That is an absolutely fantastic name. Like, that is an all-time racing name.
Yeah.
It's kind of reminds me actually of Bob Williams, who is of course Robbie Williams for the music video of the song Supreme.
Absolutely brilliant.
It's amazing what a simple use of nickname can do to make a name sound old-timey. Because back in the day you had nicknames, like these days we got Discord nicknames, but back in the day you had drivers who were just being called Bob or Red or something of order of that effect. You had Skip and you had things like that people just were called in lieu of their given name, especially in America, but other places too. And that sometimes got transported into racing as well. And Jackson Robillard, yeah, getting a bit sideways there, just turning it, getting the balance a little bit upset there in his bid to get past Darren Andrews there for 14th.
Up front in P7, Jerry Ferry is now 0.2 behind Bayer, and that looks like it's shaping up for a nice fight and a possible overtake coming up in the next few laps. That is a late break from Robillard. That's losing him a bit of time. Let's see if he can make it up here on the home straight.
Yeah, I think he'd be best served to just try and calm down driving a little bit, like taking a touch off the effort, because when you're driving slower, oftentimes with machinery like this, you can actually end up driving faster just by making less mistakes, being a little bit more consistent. And I know it must be frustrating after that early mistake to really try and get back going. You're desperate to claw back that time, but the sooner you forget about gaining back time that can never be gained back, the better off you are racing-wise. But that is then one of the things that comes with experience, as we see Reese Gardner there looking at the draft. maybe looking to the inside potentially soon enough, wanting to get that pass done, wanting to get closer and closer to the top 10. It's still an uphill struggle, but it's one position at a time for Reese Gardner, who is of course a very experienced sim racer indeed. He's done just about everything in his career, and if you want to get some really good track guides for various sim racing circuits around the world, look for Southpaw Racer in YouTube. But that's enough of commercialism. Now we are here about racing with Reese, heading to the main straight, looking for the draft, getting a decent exit, but I'm not sure that's quite good enough. That is still a little bit further away than we saw Simoncic being from Hillebrand when he was able to get that overtake done. Still, he's putting on the pressure, he's piling on the pressure, and it seems like, it feels like it's only a matter of time at this point.
Yes, absolutely. What a beautiful fight is shaping up here on the racetrack. Gardner on Wyans, very, very close to each other. This is not going to take long. Gardner, I'm not sure if he's going to... There we go. Goes for the overtake, puts his nose in, gets the inside line to the next corner, forces Wyans to go a little bit wider, and that is the overtake done right there. Reese Gardner taking position number 11, only a few spots away from the points.
Very well done from Reese Gardner, very clean as well to the inside, just leaving no chance for Gardner there, for Wyans there, I'm sorry. Gardner of course being the overtaking driver, and just doing it very professionally, very effectively. Putting up the inside, and there you go. Nothing fancy, but well executed. So, we are fighting for fourth here. We got Niklas Kirsten, Danny Foreman, Martin Beyer, and Jerry Ferry all in this same pack. Ferry dropping just a little bit away, and you can see Shepard and Hillebrand as well chasing to the back of this. But it is Danny Foreman we're focusing on. In that difficult position, he is the meat in the sandwich right now between Kirsten and Beyer. Let's see if he can hold on to the pressure, if he can get the overtake done soon enough, because if not, those drivers behind him might be starting to get a little bit anxious, starting to get a little bit, let's say, impatient in Danny Foreman's efforts, and maybe starting to get that fifth back from him. And Gardner, meanwhile, he's lost the 11th back to Wyans.
Oh, that is interesting. This is a fight that's heating up, even though it is out of the points, as we have an interesting fight up front between 5, 6, 7, and 8. But here in the back, Wyans and Gardner are not fighting like they're not playing for points here. They're fighting for real. This is real racing right there. Wyans and Gardner going up hard there, as Gardner is very close, about to make that stick perhaps in one of the next corners, to actually get an opening and try to get that position back. This is real racing here, Ocean.
Yeah, this is real racing, absolutely. So Gardner then looks to maybe, let's see if he can get close enough to that hairpin. I wonder what happened to Reese, if he made a mistake or something, because the gap to Godrecki ahead of them has grown from around 9 seconds to 11.5 now. So all that battling, side-by-side racing is slowing them both down, but there must have been also a mistake from Gardner that has caused him to lose a bit of pace. And you can see the gap on the main straight. It is a little bit bigger than it was last time around, and it seems that his car is a little bit slower down the straight line. He's actually, he's losing time to Wyans down that main straight, which is very surprising indeed. And actually the gap is getting bigger over the straight, and we can see Hillebrand on 8th position. There was a yellow earlier on. I wonder what that's for. It's nobody from the top 12 by the looks of things. Matty Shepard seems to be the culprit there, having lost 8th position to Hillebrand and down into 9th position.
Just before that, before the fight for P4.
Again,
that is Matty Shepard. Might there be an issue with the car here? We have a replay as we look at Matty Shepard, Vulcan Racing. Ooh, bit twitchy coming on the inside. Ooh, that is late braking. That is a floorboard being scratched. And that is Matty Shepard absolutely doing their best not to hit the car in front. Fantastic, fantastic racing in that sense. Very careful, very safe. But yes, that is very unfortunate. In the fight for P4 though, Kirsten and Voerman at some point was literally next to each other, plus 0.004. Very, very close. So in that fight here, this fight is also shaping up. Beyer also right there, ready to put his nose into this fight, as Ferry has drifted off a little bit, and Hillebrand back into the points.
Yep, Hillebrand back into 8th place as a result of that mistake from Matty Shepard. So one driver's loss is another's gain. Let's see if that situation changes. We know Hillebrand has the pace, lost a bit of time in those shenanigans, but if he can get back to this queue, then everything is very much still possible. Here you can see Danny behind his Bayer. Bayer getting increasingly close. As you mentioned there, Martin Bayer in 6th place. We haven't talked about Martin much in this race, but definitely a contender in this battle as well. And the kind of driver who, as I just said a couple of laps ago, might be the first to see, okay, if Danny can't get the overtake done, how about I pass that Danny instead, and I'll try my hand at 4th place.
As we replay back into Jackson Robillard, a very bit of a slide there. Oh, an absolute spinner! Oh no! That is going to be a hit to bury. That might be a DNF there for Jackson Robillard. Yes, that's an absolute DNF. Unfortunately, Écurie Atlantique losing their first car in this race.
Yep, and I do believe Écurie Atlantique lost their only car in this race as well. Yeah, they don't have 2 cars in this one, so just 1 car team, and that was also very common back in the day, mind you. You had teams anywhere from 1 to 3 cars at some moment in time, so a lot of privateer entries, a lot of single car entries, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 cars. Sometimes it may change during the season. Formula 1 actually, in its modern format, where you have to sign up for the season, did only start in 1980, as opposed to their official history of it starting in 1950.
Fantastic. I mean, it is so nice to see the historic way being relived in a virtual world here. Do definitely go on the social medias and check out the hashtag HRSC. Do definitely post your ideas and comments on that. As we're in this race, lap 14, Devin Braune out leading comfortably, almost 7 seconds out. B. Knops following in 2nd place, but being hunted by Simoncic, almost 0.6 behind, closing in on that gap.
Yeah, then you got Kirsten, Forman and Bayer 10 in 4th, 5th and 6th, the battle we've been following. Meanwhile, 14th and 15th, it is Darren Andrews and Robin DeVos who are fighting it out ahead of Austin Birchfield, who is in 16th place. So the battles continue all the way around the racetrack. These lap times fluctuate. They are nowhere near as consistent as you can see in a modern day. These cars are much more difficult to drive consistently. And whenever you get into a battle, you don't have anything that's aiding you with overtaking, really. We mentioned it in Formula B race, but you don't have dirty air with these cars. They don't create downforce. They, in fact, create lift on a straight line, which is a terrifying concept. And for a long time before the invention of the wings, the biggest problem is, okay, we can't put any bigger engines because the car will just essentially go airborne. How do we keep this car on the ground?
Make it heavier.
Yeah, and shape it differently. Ooh, and the Foss is just a little bit skittish in turn number 1. Behind him, Birchfield doing more or less the same thing. Meanwhile, Jerzy Simoncic has caught up to Bert Knops for the 2nd place. He was a bit faster last time around. Fastest lap time belongs to Jerzy Simoncic as well, a 1:23.2. Last time around, a 23.8 compared to 24.1 of Bert Knops. So, yeah, the times are definitely advancing in favor of Jerzy Simoncic, and it looks to me like he is looking for the chance, looking for that overtake. And of course, if you ask Simoncic, he wants to get that done as soon as possible so he can get chasing our race leader as we are on lap 16 of 85.
Absolutely, and in the meanwhile, a little bit towards the back, Hillebrand has taken position number 7, overtaking Jerry Ferry, beautiful name again. Fuhrman has been overtaken by Bayer as he is now chasing Kirsten in P4. Bayer 0.6 out and Fuhrman already on a 2nd deficit there, 1.2 seconds behind Bayer. Something might have happened there, but Bayer now closing that gap quickly to Kirsten as we have a yellow in sector 1. And I think Hillebrand just overtook Jerry Ferry again. No, actually that is just the same thing, that's just weird, glitching. But Bayer definitely fighting Kirsten there, who has a 15-second gap to Simoncic with this Honda. Simoncic is definitely on the hunt for P2, closing that gap to Knops. 0.3, 0.3 seconds, 0.2 seconds, closing that gap very quickly. And do we see an overtake coming up on the next corner? He has side by side, wheel to wheel. Here we go. I think Simoncic has that corner right there, and Bert Knops has no way, nothing else to do but to give that position away to Simoncic, who is absolutely steaming on right now. Kirsten has a 0.2 gap to Bayer. We have a yellow in sector 3 as that is already resolved, so just a bit of a slide. Knops now on the hunt towards Simoncic. 0.7 out, losing time already with that massive engine that Simoncic has in that Honda. The gap is now a second, almost over a second. Simoncic just driving away and starting that hunt to get back to Devin Brown. Bit of a slide there, but keeping it on the track. Bert Knops absolutely driving a fantastic race, just not enough speed there for Simoncic. As we go back towards the back of the field, Austin Bergfield overtaking on Andrews there, quickly making short work of that. Quick overtake on the turn, and now just driving away quickly. Meanwhile, more towards the front for P5, Kirsten has been overtaken by Bayer, who has now gotten himself into a 0.6 gap, 0.8 gap to Bayer. So Bayer is now on the hunt for that podium position right there. In the Scuderia Favero.
Yep, Bayer is
Hunting.
looking very good indeed here at this moment in time. And just gonna mention Bayer as well. Once again, if you look at lap times, Bert Knops half a second slower last time around. Of course, there was that battle between Simoncic and Knops. But Bayer's fastest lap time is a 24.2. That's only 1/10 slower than Knops. So with the way things are trending and with the way things are going, Martin Bayer might very well not only use this position to his advantage, but then might be a shoe-in for the podium later on in this race. We still got like 55 to go over that.
Oh man, this race is only just getting underway now. We have 85 laps total. We're only on lap 18. We have a comfortable gap in the front, I would say. An 8-second gap is not much for a full pit stop, but it definitely is a gap. Simoncic is on his way to closing that gap. 7.5 seconds now as we see Celadon getting very close there to Fleur, but not enough just here on the main straight. Getting back into that race. Looks like that Fleur car is absolutely driving away here from Celadon. Just doesn't have the speed or top power for those exits there. But it is a very, very long race. Lap 19 out of 85. We got a couple of miles to go here.
Yeah, we do. Ivan Viflier now, Welsh driver, of course. In 17th position, was involved in some of those lap 1 shenanigans slightly. Fastest lap time at 28.2, so that car potentially has some damage at 31.1 last time around compared to Celadon's 30, a high 30. So a little bit slower than the leading guys, and not only that, but both of them looking to make the best of what has been a difficult race for them. But yeah, as we've said so many times, it's still a long race. It's still gonna be an exciting battle for some points potentially later on. A race of attrition, very much so. Most important thing right now, don't make mistakes. And mind you, this is just race 1 of a 10-race season. A lot of these drivers are still learning the ins and outs of these cars. A lot of these drivers potentially haven't had the chance to practice as much as they may have wanted. May not have the setup quite down to their preferences. The car may not be suiting the circuit. But once you get to some fast tracks later on in the season, Spa-Francorchamps, for example, Brianza, of course, being very, very famous for its fast corners, then yeah, you might see some different drivers up in the front as we look back to the battle between Kirsten and Foreman.
Personally, for me, Spa-Francorchamps is one of my favorite tracks. I'll definitely be here for that race. I'm really looking forward to see what these drivers can do on there and how it's going to shape up with the more experience, understanding the car, getting a better feel with your team in that sense, getting the setup right there, and then actually, you know, that race to me looks very promising. But that doesn't do away a single bit here from the first round in South Africa on the East London circuit. where we have Devin Brown out in front, 10-second leading to Simoncic, who is maybe calming down a little bit, saving a bit of fuel perhaps, just theorizing about why he might be letting up that pedal for a bit. As Bert Knops is now closing on Simoncic, maybe they're fighting. We might actually get a fight up here for P2 as we get a yellow in Sector 1. Yellow flags out.
That's Shepard. That's Maddie Shepard, and Maddie is out of this race as well. Number 16, Maddie Shepard, out of this race in Sector 1. That was the yellows we were seeing. So hopefully we'll get more information on what exactly happened to Maddie later on. Very unfortunate indeed. Reese Gardiner, meanwhile, getting up to 10th place as a result of that 20-second gap ahead. And here we see a replay. Maddie Shepard heading towards the first corner, getting a little bit sideways early on, just overcorrected it, and then the pendulum effect, sending them sideways once again and into the wall for Maddie Shepard. That is very unfortunate indeed for the Vulcan Racing driver, and that is Maddie's race over.
That is very unlucky, and hope that they are all right. Looked like a big crash there, but let's continue on with this race as we are not done yet. Knops losing a little bit of time to Simoncic, almost over a second now, but Simoncic is also in his turn losing time to Devin Brown, out in the lead with a comfortable 9-second gap, as somebody has gone very wide there.
That's Simoncic. That's Simoncic.
That's Simoncic.
That's Simoncic. Yeah.
He made a mistake.
Huge mistake there, going wide, and the Rafa Racing Club driver, you said he was struggling. I was wondering if he's just pacing himself. You were wondering that as well. Well, looks to be more than that, and getting very skiddy in the next corner. And Simoncic, he's got to be beating himself in the cockpit of that car right now. And we see an instant replay, Björn, of what happened to Jelena Simoncic there. Look to me, just a single car error. Yeah, just braking too late.
Just made a braking error there, like maybe didn't correctly guess the braking power there on that corner, right? It doesn't really matter. He has to get back on it. And like you said, he might be beating himself. But of course, part of being a good racing driver, an experienced racing driver right now, is to keep your head down, keep it cool, and get back into that race. Because this fight is not over. Only 22 laps in of an 85-lap race. This race is a long one. I think you've mentioned before, it's almost like an endurance race, one of my favorites too. Yeah, being in the head of Simoncic right now, you have to get back into that. You got to keep your head down and get that car back on track. Hopefully your damage is limited. Hopefully your car is still functioning properly, and you can get back into that and get back on the hunt to Knops.
So, lap 22 of 85, Riley Wine still chasing down Reese Gardiner. They got company in the form of Ted Huff as well, who's been trying to challenge them in terms of holding on. Best middle sector for Ted Huff on this last lap, gaining half a second on Riley Wines on that one, able to improve his personal best on the last sector, and as a result of that puts down his personal best lap time of 1:26.1, which was last time 6/10 faster than Wyans, almost a full second faster than Gardiner. So these guys, if they don't get a move on, they might be soon looking at the 3-car battle, which is an entirely different proposition of from a 2-car battle, Björn. And that means of course that now Wyans might be looking at himself as a middle car. Gardiner might be looking at, we got 2 cars in the mirrors. So that's something that he's gonna have to worry about, apart from all the other worries that concern a racing driver at this moment in time. We're back to Danny Foreman in 6th place. Between Kirsten and Hillebrand, and Nicholas Hillebrand, how about the comeback for him? Dropped all the way to 9th from 2nd place in this race, but has caught up to this duo now and is looking to elevate himself to 6th and then potentially to 5th place in a short order as well.
Absolutely. Hillebrand, of course you say it is a good comeback, but of course he also did lose a bunch of positions early on in this race. Trying to get back, trying to salvage this race a little bit. But now, actually, I think in the closest fight on track right now we have 0.3 behind Foreman. Foreman also hunting Kirsten in P5, who is 0.8 seconds behind her. Very close. Hillebrand's really, really close on that gearbox there of Foreman. And I think we might be seeing an overtake here soon.
we might be, you can just see the exit of Hillebrand, how comfortable he is with these cars, just able to utilize that slip angle. These cars using much more slip angle usually than modern cars do. You can see just straight on the steering wheel. As soon as he gets on the power, he's very confident there. Losing a bit of time, however, here on a straight line to Kirsten, to Foreman. But then once again, when you come to the technical bits, you can see where Hillebrand is absolutely gaining on these guys. Confident on the brakes, a single braking, no second guessing whatsoever. That's so important to get right. We've been talking about how these cars feel to drive. They're almost like super bikes, in the sense that you have to brake very early and you have to worry more about the balance of the car, the weight distribution of the car during those long braking zones. And sometimes as a racing driver, you know, you feel like you're going a bit too slow into a corner. You think okay, I've got time to gain on this braking zone. Remember, next lap, try a little bit harder on that braking zone. I think that's what happened to Jerzy Simoncic earlier on, who we see just in the pictures here, heading to this particular corner. He was trying to go a little bit faster on the braking there, brake a little bit later, caught him out, but he's back now up to the tailpipe of Bert Knops, looking to take his second place back and then looking to chase down the leader, as we do have some developments. A yellow flag in sector 2. Can't quite see who it is for, probably nothing major so far. So all good, let's keep going, let's keep on racing.
No tumbling there of anybody in the leader list, or like the leaderboard, I should say. Looks like that Hillebrand was chasing on Kirsten, but that gap is now increasing. Earlier it looked like that... oh no, actually Hillebrand has overtaken Foreman. He's now in P6.
Yeah.
I think Foreman was earlier getting in the draft of Kirsten, but now Hillebrand has actually overtaken him and is now back on P6. His racing story, his story of the day is still developing, but he has lost 4 positions up until now and working hard to get back into it. Simoncic on the front of the race is now in P3 and is 0.7 back on the hunt to getting to Knops. Devin Browne out in front, our race leader, who has led every lap of this race, has created a comfortable gap as the guys behind him are fighting for that position. So Devin just having a casual Saturday stroll.
Yep, Devin Browne, of course, who was crowned earlier on this year as the Sim Formula Europe champion of 2025 in a somewhat more modern machinery, and is now leading this race here on some historic machinery on round number 1 of the historic racing sports community open wheel racing series. And definitely someone to beat, a very deserving leader, getting caught up in some traffic here, as you can see, just trying to get some of those lapped cars off and from his way and then getting back going. I believe that's the pack involving Reese Gardiner and Wyans and Huff as well, that he's getting into the back of. Yep, that's number 15. That is indeed Ted Huff from USA, from Vulcan Racing, that our race leader Devin Browne is trying to get rid of. Well, not get rid of in a bad way, just you know, get from out of his way.
Just trying to get on with his race, and this means this is of course a very interesting development that Devin in the lead with a 12-second gap is now already dealing with some traffic. This means that if Bert Knops and Simoncic ever get back into this fight and close up that gap, they'll have to deal with the same amount of traffic, of course. Because as you said, there's no required pit stops here, so they can just keep going if they fuel the car properly, if they do not have any damage, if they have no reason to come in, they'll just keep going. So this traffic is not going away anytime soon.
No, and if you look at it based on like we're now at lap 27, he'll be up along those guys a couple of more times in this race as well. And Simoncic, meanwhile, gets the overtake done on second place. You can see the car just wiggling at the end of turn number 1, but he gets the pass done on Bert Knops, and that means Jerzy Simoncic back in second place, and the chase is on. And tell you what, Simoncic's been absolutely flying here. Last sector was his fastest in this race so far, losing a bit of time on the first sector, but his fastest lap is a 1:23.2. Now, for the sake of comparison, Devin Braune, who's been leading all race in clear air.
Oh, what happened there?
Oh, that's a big one. I believe
Was that a back marker?
that was a back marker. Bert Nopps is meanwhile alongside Simoncic, heading into the last sector, looking to the outside. That's gonna turn to the inside for the next corner. And Nopps is able to get it done, getting the pass done back on Jelena Simoncic, not giving up by any means. Now Simoncic has a great run there, heading to the hairpin, the last corner. Who will break
switch.
latest? Will it
The
be
switch.
Simoncic? Oh, yes, but wow. But yeah, the switchback, it's still an opportunity. Nopps now has a great run onto the main straight, on that long main straight, is right in the draft, just a couple of car lengths away, not quite able to utilize the draft to the best of his advantage. You can see how that Yonda that Simoncic is driving is absolutely flying on a straight line, and that is helping him so much in this position at this moment in time, because that means he's able to hold on to the second for now, but both of them losing valuable time as they're battling along the back markers, losing 1.5 seconds to our race leader just last lap alone.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned the Yonda there with the straight line speed, because I was going to mention the same thing. Simoncic absolutely just driving away from Knops, creating that gap, but we just see a beautiful fight there. As we probably get a bit of a replay, Austin Bergfield, who had a lock-up trying to make room, and that is so close taking our P2 and P3 out. Bergfield just quickly losing that corner and then flying off into Narnia as P2 and P3 keep their fight on. I imagine this might have like what would you say, like confused Simoncic a little bit, giving Knops the opportunity, but then he took it back only a couple of corners later.
Yeah, it's too bad for him that those Yonda Racing overalls are white, because I can tell you what, there's going to be some spots on certain points of those overalls after that. Meanwhile, Hillebrand getting past Kirsten. Niklas Kirsten losing the 5th place to Nicholas Hillebrand 10, but looking back to the inside, the battle not quite over yet. Hillebrand very brave in turning into the last corner, getting the overtake done. We see one of the lapped cars moving out of the way, nice and easy, but yeah, that Birchfield incident, I think he was trying to be nice, just slowing down away from the racing line, doing everything in the correct order, just giving too much room, and caught himself out on the grass. And at that moment in time when he was sliding grass, he was just like, oh, please don't let me hit anyone, please don't let me hit anyone. That's a problem sometimes when you're trying to be a little bit too nice when letting the leaders past.
To me, it looked like it might have been he was trying to get out of the way, but then had a bit of an accidental brake failure. But yeah, you might be right. He might have touched a bit of grass there accidentally during the race, not intentionally getting on there. As we get back into this race, because our leader, Devin Braune, has a gap of 12.5 seconds to Simoncic, who is still fighting Bert Knops 1 second behind him. Bayer in P4, 18 seconds behind, fighting now, or actually not fighting, actually in quite a comfortable spot now with a 4.5 second gap to Nicholas Hillebrand, who is actually fighting with Kirsten and Fuhrman. That gap is, or that little pack of cars is still very much alive and battling. Although the gaps have gotten a bit larger, as we are into lap 30 right now, out of 85, to me it seems this race is settling a little bit. People getting a bit more comfortable in their position, not necessarily slowing down, but definitely keeping an eye on their fuel, keeping an eye on their tires, and making sure they'll last so they do not have to do any pit stops.
No, absolutely, you're right. It is settling down. It is starting to find their pace, starting to find their correct position in the field. So they are pretty much ordered pace-wise, which means that the faster guys are out in front, and then the slower guys are more towards the rear. So that means there is a less natural fighting going on, faster guys climbing up through the field and whatnot. One driver one gap I've been keeping an eye on here, a side eye on, is the situation between Gardner and Wyans, because we remember those two battling for a long time. Well, since Reese Gardner got the overtake finally done on Riley Wyans, he's been able to extend that gap to 3.5 seconds, as we see some interesting racing lines there. Hillebrand, Kirsten and Foreman, of course, is still involved in this close trio. So Gardner looking very happy at the moment in 10th place. Maybe it was someone who is looking to get some pace under his belt, but it's going to be very difficult because Kodrecki ahead of him is lapping a little bit faster than him consistently. So it's going to be hard for Gardner to gain any more positions, barring the DNFs, which is again a realistic proposition in this time as much as in any time, really.
Fair enough. As we look a little bit towards that back, as we see Wyans has just been overtaken by Huff.
Yep.
The gap was really close, but he just flew away and now already creates 2-second gap to Wyans. Is Wyans having a problem, perhaps?
Maybe a slight error. The gap looks to be trending that way at least. A slight error from Wyans, which has led to Huff getting a relatively easy overtake done, I would say. So Riley Wyans, the US driver, having to give up his position, relinquish his position to another American driver. You can see the gap here on your screens. Huff, meanwhile, has lost a couple of seconds to Gardner as a result of all that ding-dong battling going on. We got some faster cars in the midst of that as well. Some overtakes involving our leaders, so that always plays a hand into these battles. I believe that Simoncic and Knops getting past these two, and will be trying to catch up to Reese Gardner as well. So
up front,
at this moment, yeah, up front, Braun and Simoncic, Knops.
And behind that, we just saw an overtake. Unfortunately, we missed it on the broadcast. That doesn't matter. But Voerman and Hillebrand just swapped positions, as Voerman is now 0.6 on Kirsten, and I think Hillebrand might be in trouble. Yes.
Yeah, 6.5 seconds behind. I wonder if it's another mistake, as you see Devin Broneter taking some liberties with the racing lines, but no problem there. Just utilizing every inch of the track to his advantage. So Hillebrand might have made another mistake.
He's 7 seconds now, and it might be an issue here.
Yeah, losing slowly, but the gap development doesn't look to me like he's in any permanent trouble. Probably just trying to gather his bearings, and here we see a replay of what happened to Nicholas Hillebrand. So able to get some gap behind, and then as we come to the next corner,
oh yeah, no,
just going straight. So might be technical issue.
Brake failure, complete brake failure.
Yeah.
Managed to keep it on the grass, managed to keep it out of the wall and back on track, but that is a big gap to fight back from. Unfortunately, the bad news, the bad story, or the like what you call it, like the horror story for Nicholas Hillebrand from the start, starting from P2, is not done yet. This race is a long one, but he is having a bit of difficulty getting back into that.
Yeah, and those play in the driver's head as well. It can't be easy for Nicholas. He's been practicing so long, and then having to deal with all these pre-race things, being involved in the management of this series, so a lot of stress going down, so it can be very difficult to focus solely on your race. We see Foreman and Kirsten now looking to settle the 5th place. Foreman getting out of the draft for a moment, then losing a bit of time as they come to the end of the straight, and he's not able to break late enough, but certainly showing his intent and showing the pressure on the back of Nick Kirsten, and that's the number 22. That's Reese Gardner. That's Reese Gardner out of this race.
That's a death car for sure. Was it? Are you sure it's Reese Gardner? Yeah, yes, he is DNF'd. Yes, exactly.
As is Simoncic.
Simoncic, no way. What happened?
So Reese Gardner was in the wall. Simoncic was somewhere around, and they were around the same piece of real estate. I will be waiting until we see that again.
We need to see a replay of this. This might be a problem. That is so unfortunate. Somebody else has just spun off. There's Danny Foreman. That's also a car that broke down.
Yeah.
Did you not see that?
I saw that. I definitely saw that. But let's see what happened here first. So that's Jelena Simoncic. Getting a little bit loose on the grass, and that's gonna be Gardner.
Oh,
that's gonna be
no! Oh,
that's so unfortunate. And then he spun in front of the.
No.
Yeah, then he spun in front. I believe that could have been Ted Huff or Riley Wyans, one of the two that was following them close behind.
Absolute heartbreak.
Absolute heartbreak for those drivers. That is so unfortunate to see.
Gardner and Simoncic both were absolutely in those fights, making sure that they were creating the action. They were absolutely fighting those cars around them. This is such an unfortunate way to go with the back marker. That is just you don't wish that on your worst enemy.
It was Bert Knobs involved in that incident as well. Bert Knobs from the 3rd place, because he's now in the pit lane, dropping from 6th to 7th.
I see.
I was wondering if, because Knobs was right behind Simoncic, and he was the car following Simoncic as Simoncic made a mistake. Then Gardner got caught up, completely a victim of that one. Nothing you can do at the exit of the corner.
Yeah, racing incident there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Bert Knobs now in the pit lane. So that means we got Braune and Bayer as the leading duo. Here you can see what happened to Ted Huff in 9th place.
Oh,
yeah,
oh my god, that is a horrible.
Yeah, but wow.
We do see in the replay, and our director's telling us that Ted Huff might not be affected by that whole incident, but you saw the car just in front of him that was driving on 3 wheels. But probably Bert Knobs into the pits, fixing his wheel and getting back in this race. Very much heartbreak central for everybody. That was such an unnecessary incident, if you ask me.
Yeah, but it's also something that happens very easily, because of course. Simoncic pushing very hard, then just making a slight error, but the wrong place at the wrong time, and just goes to show you really how quickly things can change. How quickly it can all turn from, okay, I'm looking at the comfortable podium, trying to catch on the lead, to your race is over. And
well, we're still looking at a very comfortable podium here for Devin Braune, as we go back to another replay to Danny Voerman.
Yeah, so
P20, P5, and a big slide. Man is absolutely Tokyo drifting it through, keeping it out of the wall and back on the track. Safe rejoin, looks very good to me, and back into that race. As we come back to
losing a position to Hillebrand as a result of that.
Fair enough, and that is racing 2. Voerman and Hillebrand still in that fight. That spin on its own. Oh, that wasn't even a spin, it was just a slide. That slide not enough to get Voerman out of that fight. Devin Braune, very, very comfortable lead now with 37 seconds to Bayer. He has time to pit if he wanted to.
He does have. He absolutely does have, and he's now, his biggest fight will be keeping his concentration. And I'll tell you, I mean, in my time, I've sometimes, very rarely, mind you, but sometimes been fortunate enough to be in this position where I have a gap of a light year effectively behind me. So at that moment, you're like, okay, you're effectively looking at your lap times, you're looking at your lines, you're trying to keep your concentration, but it can be very difficult to not let your mind drift. And the way it's done, the way to keep your concentration at this moment, paradoxically perhaps, is to try and stay close enough to the limit without going over it, so that you'll have to keep your concentration. Because if you start to drive half a second or a second slower than your earlier lap times, not only will the gap come tumbling down eventually, but also you are now in this mode mentally where you no longer have to concentrate quite as hard, where you no longer are paying as much attention, and then it can be very easy to make those mistakes. We see examples of that all over time, and we've seen it historically. Most famously, perhaps, Ayrton Senna sending it to the wall at Monaco in 1988 from a lead of something like almost a lap, when he was just told by his team to slow down. Then he slowed down and just put it into the wall. Silly error all by himself. Meanwhile, it has to be mentioned that Ivan Fleer has also retired from this race, sadly. That happened just last lap. So Fleer out of this event, sadly, and that leaves us with 14 drivers, I believe, if Bert Knobs is able to get out of the pit lane.
I was just about to mention that Bert Knobs is still in pit, and that looks like a very long pit or an actual DNF2. As we look at a replay in the top right for Celadon.
The Automax driver, let's see what happened here. A very famous place for difficulties. Looked to be wiggly on the braking, and just spinning around. Yeah.
Full spin. Yeah, late on the brake, possible brake failure there. Keeping it safely out of the wall and on the track, back into that race, losing 2 positions, or possibly with 2 back markers. I'm not entirely sure, but yes, that happened.
So to bring you viewers up to pace of why we are seeing a lot of mistakes on the braking, that a lot more than you see in modern cars. Well, the braking is very different in these cars. Let's get back to that soon. We find out now what happened to Mivan with Lear here in the now listed in 14th position. Oh, just turn number 1, too late on the braking. We've seen a couple of other drivers head into that wall as well.
Exactly, that wall, yeah, has already at least claimed 2 other cars.
Yep. And as I was about to say, braking failures. So there are many reasons you can do that. You can simply brake too late. That is the most common one. Or you can touch grass on the braking, for example. And when somebody tells you to touch grass, please don't do it in a race car, because that's not gonna lead you into any great things. As we see Bert Knopps extend the pit lane. Good job, Bert, keeping going. 4 laps to leader now, but most importantly, they got that car repaired and he's able to keep going. Anyway, another reason why we see a lot of mistakes is that these cars have a different type of gearbox. So they have this old H-pattern gearbox, which means that when you're downshifting, you have to make sure that you're blipping at the right time, that or you're using the clutch effectively. You might be downshifting too early, which means that since these cars have no protection for them, that can lock up the rear axle of the car. So
and that's what you don't want to see, yes.
Yeah, so that leads to a lot of wiggling. And at that point, when you're already braking on the threshold, when you're already braking as late as you can while still making the corner, when you lose time doing that, that means you can go wide. And you want to use engine braking as much as possible without downshifting too early, so you have to time it really well. And it all comes down to rhythm. So when there's something that will upset that rhythm, when you're braking a little bit later and you're trying to gain as much time as possible, it's very easy to make a mistake there. So we see Nicholas Hillebrand here on 4th place then, trying to catch up to Kirsten, but it's still almost a 7-second gap. Is, however, able to extend that gap back to Foreman to what is now 1.8 seconds in lap 39. So just a quick explanation of why braking is actually very difficult in these cars, even more so than with modern cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the closest fight right now we're seeing on this field. As Nicholas Hillebrand makes a mistake, misjudges that corner. Oh, that's a bad spin. There's a yellow flag right there for Sector 1. Back on track as Foreman has this overtaken. I was just about to say this is the closest fight we see on the race. Danny Foreman taking P4 from Hillebrand. But other than that, this race is very much settling. But you do see, as you mentioned earlier, Ocean, a lot more mistakes now as brakes are failing. This is not done yet. We have no safety cars. We only have our yellow flags. And this is where this race could turn on its head in an instant.
No, it absolutely could. It only takes one mistake. We saw it in the Formula B race earlier on as well. What looked to be a done race turning on its head with a dozen laps to go. And here now Danny Foreman then in 4th place, 8 seconds back from Nicholas Kirsten. And then it's Nicholas Hillebrand in 5th place. Cherry Ferry, our favorite name from this entire field. He's been quiet all race long, more or less. But he's been putting in some consistent lap times while everybody's been making mistakes. And as a result of that, he's only 6.5 back from Nicholas Hillebrand. Now, he doesn't have the outright pace, I'm going to call it now, doesn't have the outright pace to challenge Hillebrand. But if Hillebrand keeps making those mistakes, then Ferry might be soon finding himself in the top 5.
Honestly, talking about people we haven't talked about at all, Frade Kodrecki back in P7 has been solid too. His race pace also isn't up to the par for the front, but he is definitely not making mistakes. And sometimes in a race, that's all you can do. Don't make a mistake.
Exactly. And speaking of those anonymous drivers, so to speak, Cherry Ferry, Franek Kodrecki, their teammates for Amber Collective Motorsports, cars 10 and 11. Now Cherry in that 11 car ahead, Franek behind. The gap between them some 15 seconds at this moment in time, but still a long race to go. So talking about these old-timey cars, there's of course some differences between the cars themselves as well. They're not all similar, and the differences might be larger than what a lot of people are used to. So for example, Ted Huff here in that number 15 car. Now he is driving the he is, I believe, driving the Scarini there. That might be. I'm trying to make sure of that, but I believe that is the Scarini, and that is perhaps the most balanced of these cars, 360 horsepower, and it weighs 548 kilos. Definitely lightest of these Formula A cars, unless you count the sort of Formula A, Formula B conversions. And meanwhile, I believe that we are able to welcome into our commentary booth a guest called Reese Gardiner, also known as Southpaw Racer. Reese, we've talked before. Welcome to our commentary booth here, and let's go over what happened there with Jerne Simoncic and an incident that we saw on a replay in our screens, but let's just get your perspective on it.
Yeah, well, first off, I already said it to Jerne in his stream chat, but I'll say it here too. I'm sorry. You know, Jerne did run a bit too wide out of turn 1 and got onto the curb and slid. And I was very close to him. I didn't have much time to react. I definitely should have lifted. I was in the zone. I was just focusing on trying to get to the edge of the corner, and I couldn't react in time. So I don't know. I'm just embarrassed, you know, that I've taken out such a quick guy who I've had really good battles with actually last year in the Trans Am Championship.
Yeah, well, if I may be honest, I'll give you a bit of an absolution here, Reese, because it's I don't think it was your fault. Just my opinion. I don't think it was your fault. I understand as a racing driver, you're gunning for the exit and guys slow. There's not much, especially with these cars, you can't just do reactions on a dime. You have to think in advance. And if it makes you any feel, but if it does make you feel any better, you didn't take out one fast guy, you took out two, because Bert Knobs was also involved.
Oh God, yeah, the second car that came in there. Yeah, man, I know it wasn't necessarily my fault, but yeah, you know, I'm a lapped car, and in that situation, I need to yield at every opportunity. I guess just Jerne running wide and getting on the grass caught me by surprise, and I couldn't quite get out of the throttle in time.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. I believe Bern has a question.
I'm just going to say that a very, very unfortunate incident there looked very much like a racing incident to me. I think it's very nice that you're apologizing for your part in that mistake. That incident just, to me, was so unnecessary, but not necessarily anybody else's fault. I'm just wondering right now how you're looking at this race as your main rivals during this race. We were looking at that battle for quite a while with Wyans and Huff. They're racing in P8 and P9. Huff right now looking for points. How does that make you feel?
Not very good, because, you know, I was ahead of the both of them, so it would have been me in P8 and probably looking at a points finish. Actually, considering that the incident took out both Jerne and Bert, I would still have been in P10, which I was at that point. So, yeah, you know, it took me a while to get past Riley. Ted looked faster than me, considering how he was gaining on us like he was. I'm just disappointed that I've missed out on a solid top 10 finish here round 1. You know, the BRM, or the GBR as it is in R Factor 2, it's a really powerful car, and it does well down the front straight. I was struggling to really get the pace out of it here at this circuit. But, you know, I'm just hoping for, you know, the faster tracks later on in the season to really get some results out of it.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're at Monte Carlo next time, so you should be looking well for that one, huh?
Ugh, God, I've done some testing at Monte Carlo in this car, and let me tell you, 6 gears with such a powerful engine is very hard to manage. So
on such a narrow straight, yeah.
Yeah, I might just go to my B chassis car for that round anyway.
Yeah, I think that might honestly be faster, because honestly, let's talk about the GBR as it's known. It had an H16 engine.
Yeah.
That is one of the craziest engine constructions I know. For anyone out there watching, wondering what's an H16 engine? Well, it's effectively 2 engines glued together.
Yeah, basically two flat eights horizontally opposed to each other, which is an insane configuration and, in my not-so-humble opinion, the best-sounding car on the grid. That was half the reason I chose the car, but it also handles really nicely too.
Yeah. So Reese, just before we let you go, something I want to ask, any insights on this? How's this East London track racing today? We've seen a lot of braking errors, especially errors on the braking, whether it's been due to bad downshifts or just braking too late. Is braking something that's especially difficult today on this track or with these cars?
Yeah, one of the things that I had the most trouble with in the lead up to the event was actually figuring out the braking strategy in these cars. Like from VMAX down at turn 2, very easy for the car to lock up. Actually, something that I discovered in qualifying was that you can't use too much engine braking, at least for the GBR. It tends to slow down a bit better when the revs are low, so I'm going to carry that knowledge forward to future rounds. But yeah, this track is an interesting one for the first round. Plenty of heavy braking zones that are really catching people out, and we're all learning the cars at the same time. You know, some of us are having a better time of it than others, and that's just the way it's going to go.
Very unfortunate there on your DNF there, Riz Gardner. But we're looking forward to your future performances on different tracks with this car. Wish you all the best and hope to see you soon, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Monza and Pescara are probably going to be the tracks I'm strongest at, so look out for me there. Thanks, guys.
Will do.
Yeah.
Thank
Chin up,
you.
lad.
Normally you would say race is long, but in this case the race is not very long anymore. But maybe next time we'll get a new chance.
And we have Bayer from second place in the pit lane as well. So we got a bit of an interesting developing situation. Martin Bayer is in the pit lane. Now, I wonder if something happened to him or if that's just a scheduled pit stop, because it is quite close to halfway point of the race.
Yeah, we are already over halfway point actually. Fourman is Fourman also in the pits. Danny Fourman in the pits too. But this is just extending Brauner's lead. Is he going for an overcut, or do we not really think in these terms here in this historic racing?
We don't really think, because I mean, this here is where, when it comes to endurance racing strategy, is that you want to maximize your time in lightest car possible. So that means that you're gonna want to pit as late as possible. You definitely don't want to pit before you're out of fuel. You don't want to pit like 2 or 3 laps to go unless you are in an absolute gaggle of back markers and you think you're gonna gain time by pitting earlier. So what these guys are doing is they're getting to their predetermined pit stop position and then getting back underway. It's certainly not a quick pit stop, as you can see. Martin Bayerden over a lap to the lead. Niklas Hillebrand still in the pit lane, as is Danny Foreman. So all of those guys then making their pit stops, getting it out of the way.
I'm not sure how he overtook him there.
Racing.
Oh, he's out on track. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is absolutely extending Devin Brauner's lead. He really has time to go for a pit. Do you think Devin Brauner is now thinking about his pit stop? Lap 47 out of 85. It is a very long race and there's still a lot of racing to be done. But this gap is huge. Do you think he'll capitalize on that?
I don't know. I just probably grab a glass of water. Maybe I don't know. Maybe do it for mental reasons. But no, you don't want to pit unless you absolutely have to, because you never know when you can utilize that time. We'll still have to wait and see whether he is on a strategy that requires a pit stop or not. It seems that a lot of these drivers are taking a pit stop, so we might be seeing that from the rest of the field as well, just in different moments in time. So Braunerton still in the lead, 57 seconds ahead of Niklas Kirsten. And I'll tell you, if Kirsten pits now, we are seeing a situation where Brauner is in his own lap.
This is actually where makes my mind go a little bit, because we see not like one driver, we see multiple drivers, including people that were actually fighting for that podium. Danny Foreman, Niklas Hillebrand, going for scheduled pit stops. If I was Devin Brauner right now and I'm not on a similar strategy, I'd be scratching my head. I wouldn't say worried, but I'd definitely be wondering, because he was driving away so early on in the race. His car was so fast. Might he have underfueled?
No, I was thinking more like I was thinking in terms of he's gonna be happy because he's like, hey, I'm able to beat these guys on raw pace, and they were lighter than me, because they would have been. So he's like, okay, I was lighter than them. I'm still driving away from them. That's a good thing. Like that's what I would think right now. And if he has underfueled, he still has he still has time to make up for that. Make a quick pit stop with like 10 to go if he realizes that. So
absolutely, but still, you wouldn't like. If you have such a speed difference and you're not underfueled, like what's going on? Like, is this setup just that much better?
Well, the car could be fitting the circuit very well. That's one of the things, and you just might be really on the pace, mind you. This guy is again, we have to mention this guy is the Sim Formula European champion from just earlier this year, so he's a very good driver. And now that we got Simoncic out from the race, and we got Nops, who was out of the race as well. Mind you, we saw him returning back to the track, but he was disqualified due to returning to the pit lane in 3 wheels, which is against the rules. So we heard that from the race control, completely understandable. So he was disqualified from the race as a result of that. So his 2 biggest adversaries are out. Niklas Hillebrand had a difficult race, and Hillebrand had to do a pit stop as well. Jerry Ferry, mind you, is also on the pit lane.
Yes, Jerry Ferry in the pit lane too. Just a little bit of a note on Bert Nops, just to give him the props where driving is due. Disqualified, I think, was asked to retire. It's just a little semantic difference there, but yeah, not the same. But yes, Bert Nops out of the race, and our grid is looking very stable right now, except for position 4, who is 0.8 behind Kodrecki. Bayer is now attacking, so we might see a little bit of a fight coming up soon in the next few laps. We might, and Kodrecki and Bayer, the difference being between them that Kodrecki didn't come up to the pit lane. Bayer did make his pit stop. Bayer is being consistently faster, but you're right, we might be seeing a battle develop between those 2 drivers. Meanwhile, we're watching Darren Andrews from the Baskerville Hobbyist Racing. Now, I wonder if who let the dogs out? Ooh, we're going back into Nicholas Hillebrand. Good joke there, we'll get back to that. But he is really very close to Jerry Ferry there. And Nicholas Hillebrand actually sniffing the gearbox of Jerry Ferry. This is looking to shape up like a proper fight. Nicholas Hillebrand, after that pit stop, of course, trying to get back into the points and getting back into this race. And he's not done yet.
No, not at all. Hillebrand, and after both of those 2 guys made the pit stops, oh, you can see Ferry there very late on the braking, locking them up, and that's an easy pass for Nicholas Hillebrand going on to the main straight. Just a slight error on the braking by Jerry Ferry, and as a result of that, Nicholas Hillebrand gets the overtake done in rather quick time, and very good job indeed. Meanwhile, Franek Kodlecki has had to give up his position to Martin Bayer, and if I'm honest, I don't think Kodlecki wanted to fight that too much, because he knows Bayer has the pace on him. There is no use in trying to hold him back for 35 laps. That's going to be impossible. So get the pass done, be a gentleman, and then lose as little time as possible for both of them. So I think Kodlecki might have been a little bit too much of a gentleman looking at the how the gap's developing right now. Or maybe his car is just a little bit slower at this moment. Who knows?
Honestly, when we're talking about gentlemen, the racing here so far has been very gentlemanlike. Everybody in this very in it for the race, very in it for the beautiful part of the sport. I haven't seen any dirty moves, nothing like that so far. Beautiful gentlemanlike racing as it's intended. Can you help me and educate maybe the viewers at home a little bit? Bayer and Hillebrand, are they teammates?
Bayer and Hillebrand. Let's see. Martin Bayer, number 7, he is driving for Scuderia Favero, and Niklas Hillebrand, number 6, is also driving for Scuderia Favero. The answer to your question is yes.
They are teammates, so
yes.
Beautiful driving. I was noticing the similar livery, and I was thinking maybe they might be teammates here. So excuse my what would you call it? My inexperience here with the team with the grids.
I think that's a good word. I think that's the least offensive word that you can call it.
Least offensive, beautiful, yeah. As we see, Devin Brown is slapping in a new fastest lap, 1:23.1, absolutely flying. This man is only getting faster.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And that's what's naturally going to happen when the car gets lighter too. You're able to improve your lap times, you're able to get a bit more confidence in there, especially if you're able to keep your tires up. Usually back in historic racing, the fastest laps were done towards the end of the race, as long as the conditions stay consistent. As long as the conditions stay relatively consistent, it doesn't start to rain or something, then the car is only going to get faster and faster and faster as the race progresses. Just because you're carrying so much fuel, as we talked in the Formula B race, you're carrying 200 kilos of fuel at the start of the race. Now, in cars that weigh around 600 to 700 kilos, that is a massive difference.
Yes,
You're losing like a quarter of the car's total weight over the course of the race. So, of course, it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference as the race progresses.
And then you also have the factor in the rubbering in of the track as the tires lose their rubber a little bit. Is that not a thing here? Yeah.
In a way, yeah, the track's getting warmer, it's getting rubbered somewhat. It's not quite as dramatic as in modern racing, because the tires don't wear as much, meaning they don't lose as much rubber. It's a different sort of compound. It's a cross-ply compound, as opposed to a radial compound you use these days, and it is a much harder compound than you would use these days. So the tires don't lose as much rubber, but they definitely still rubber in the track. You can actually see the darker racing line on some of the camera angles.
And does it also, when we're on the educational part, here we go, an overtake by Wyans. Or
no, Hillebrand.
Wyans overtaking, being overtaken by Hillebrand there. I mean, honestly, it was a matter of time, was it not? Like, Hillebrand's pace is just so much higher, and he did a pit, so his tires probably are fresh. Oh, what is happening here then? That's a bit wide, my mate.
Yeah, it is a bit wide, but no harm, no foul, I believe, for Niklas Hillebrand. He's able to get back going. That's what the yellows were for, and then just turning around the last hairpin, and oh no, is that Devin Braune? That's Devin Braune in the wall.
Oh no, that might be DNF. Devin Braune gave away almost a lap lead to Kirsten. Kirsten now in theoretical lead. That is such heartbreak for a first race here.
That he did a Nielsen Trauske.
What happened? I'm hoping we get a replay. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, and look to be a strange
here's the
race on
replay.
track. Let's see what happened to Devin Braune. So is that an involvement?
He's in traffic.
Yeah, that's Cherry Ferry.
Oh no, he just lost it.
He just went wide. Probably got confused behind Cherry Ferry. Just trying to follow the line. Dropped a wheel onto the grass, and you no longer have any grip, and you cannot slow down on the grass as effectively either. And he was so unlucky in that he went to the wall that was right there at a very slow speed, and then just clattered into the barrier. Your race is over, and that's how easily it can happen. And that is such a heartbreak, really, for a man who led this race pretty much right from the get-go.
52 laps easily, yeah.
Yeah.
He led this race for 52 laps without a problem. No issues, however. He made that gap larger and larger. Currently looking at our current race leader, Niklas Kirsten from Amber Collective Autosport. That is absolute heartbreak, and welcome to racing.
Yeah, Niklas Kirsten then inheriting the lead after he was fighting in that 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th place battle for such a long time, but he has not made a pit stop yet in this race. We are wondering if he ever will, or if he just fueled more to be more flexible on this race strategy. Either way, we are looking at second place is Martin Beyer, who is, to me, the second fastest driver left in this event. Then you got Vanek Kudrecki rounding out the top 3. You will have Denny Foreman in 4th place as soon as he is able to pass Braune, who is, as I mentioned, out of this event. Ted Huff will be 5th, and Niklas Hillebrand will be 6th. So seems for Niklas Hillebrand that no matter what happens, he'll now end up around 6th position.
That is good news for Hillebrand, of course, finishing in the points like that after such a terrible race story, starting from P2, now back in P6. That is good news, but that's also salvaging a race that could have been a lot better, of course. Looks like fastest on track right now is Martin Beyer. Fastest lap he did is a 1:23.7, but Devin Braune, who had the lead, did a 1:23.1. Unfortunately, DNF'd into the wall, and we are now seeing how this race shapes up with, I'd say, about 20 laps to go? 30 laps to go. 20
Meanwhile,
laps.
Hillebrand is very close to Ted Huff here on 5th place battle. So Ted Huff is in 5th, Hillebrand is 6th. I'm looking at the timing screen, and you can just see them right behind each other. Hillebrand, no!
Oh my, no. Okay.
I believe
he's
he's
for a second. Yeah.
yeah, I believe he's gonna get a Gillette sponsorship, because that was quite a shame.
Fantastic. So Nicholas Hillebrand keeping the car on track. That was a bit too close for comfort. Following Ted Huff right here, a 0.6 gap, but that was insanely close. Let's be real. Like
Yeah.
that was uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was just shows you the car control of Nicholas Hillebrand, really, but also just you never want to let that happen, just overcorrecting it a little bit and then somehow being able to hold on. I believe there might have been the classic 2-foot magic save involved in at some point. If you're confused by this, I'll explain it later. Something from the annals of Finnish sim racing history, actually. Ted Huff and Nicholas Hillebrand still continuing their fighting now. Hillebrand looking to the inside on that last hairpin and able to get the job done as Ted Huff just outbreaks himself trying to defend the position on the outside and just ends up losing the fight and losing 3.5 seconds of valuable ground to Hillebrand, who's now 18 behind Foreman and is hoping that he won't make any more mistakes on the braking here in this race as we got 30 laps to go, but he's up into top 5 once again.
Nicholas Hillebrand getting back on his race, hunting Danny Foreman right now. 30 laps to go, as you just mentioned, but that is still a very long race. We are not done yet. With an average of 1:24, 1 minute and 24 seconds per lap, 30 laps is a long time to go.
Yeah, it's around 40 minutes, 42 minutes.
Oh, nice! A spin of Jerry Ferry. Tokyo
No, it's
drifting
not a spin.
around the corner there.
Just a little bit sideways, showing up to the crowd, you know. Realizing, oh, these guys have nothing to talk about, let's have a slide.
If only.
No. Yeah, he's now behind Riley Wyans, and actually last time around Riley Wyans was 2 seconds slower than Cherry, so let's see if Cherry is able to catch up to Wyans here in a moment's time, and it might develop into a decent battle, because you got Huff, you got Wyans. I remember those two guys being on a similar pace, and Cherry Ferry, of course, has been involved in these top 10 battles all day long, so might be something that could develop into a 2-car or 3-car battle later on in this event. So we're starting to see the second wind of this race truly coming to form, with Ferry's gap 1.5 seconds, something I should mention also. Romy de Vos is now 3.7 seconds behind David Bacasseladon here for 11th.
Beautiful name, though, if I may say so. We only have 12 cars left in this race. A little bit of drifting there. Robin de Vos doing his best there in P12, but that is also racing. In order to finish, you have to finish. So
to finish first, you must first finish.
Beautiful, exactly. That was the quote I was looking for. But he is now driving in P12 out of the points, but still driving the car. His race is not over yet. As we look ahead in the field, Jerry Ferry 1.2 seconds away from Wyans, and then I think that's the closest battle we have so far. So this grid is definitely settling in. We are looking at a bit of a, I wouldn't say a lull, but a little bit of a slower pace inside the race where not much racing is going on. People are just settling into their pace, making sure the car is good, making sure their tires are good. I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen more pits.
Yeah. I think a lot of these drivers did the calculations before the race, and they were thinking, okay, we can be faster at the earlier portion of the race if we pit, but is it gonna be worth the time lost in the pit lane? And another reason is that if you underfuel your car for the start and make a strategy for a pit stop, then that means each and every lap will become more critical, because you have to use that lap time advantage, that faster car at the earlier portions of the race, to your advantage as effectively as possible. Now, what happens in racing is that the pack is usually crunched closer together at early on. You might be stuck behind somebody. You might not be able to get the pass done as early as you want. You might make a mistake. Who knows? You might be stuck in a battle. So while on paper it might be a little bit faster to pit, it might not always be the best play. So a lot of these drivers opting for strategic flexibility in that they want to fuel it up right from the get-go, not have to worry about any pit stops, not have to worry about anything unnecessary, just get going and trust their pace and trust their consistency.
Absolutely, it is a war of attrition, as you mentioned before. It is now that this is the difficult part, and this is also where it very much looks like endurance racing. It is not about being the fastest now. It is not about making sure you have the best lines. It is about saving the car. It's about controlling your concentration. It is about being on track, not off the track. It is about following other cars that might give you a little bit of a draft. As we can see right now with Jerry Ferry following Wyans, 0.5 seconds of a gap, closing that gap slowly. I think we might see an overtake here in the next few laps as Jerry Ferry is trying to get back into this race and taking Wyans on for a fight.
Yeah, and you can also see another thing which is happening when, which is speaking perhaps pro pit stop, is that when you make a car setup, you have to account for a car that is 200 kilos heavier at some point than it will be towards the end of the race. And that car, which is lighter, is also going to be under more worn tires. It's going to have less grip. So that means you have to make the setup more of a compromise than you would if you made a pit stop and you'd only have to account for 100 kilos. So in that sense, as I was talking about tire wear, it wasn't as much of an effect in 60s, but it still was something that mattered to the drivers, something that still played an effect in the development of these races. And the same thing you can see here in this race. You can see Wyans, for example, Riley Wyans in 7th, the leading car in this duo, is getting a little bit sideways in some of these corners. His car is just noticeably more wiggly. You can see it on the braking as well. He's having to fight the car really before he's turning it in, whereas Cherry's car is a lot more consistent.
A lot more stable, yeah.
Yeah. Something I should mention outside of the screens as well, no need to go to it, but Austin Birchfield was also able to get past Darren Andrews just one lap ago, and he's also already made the gap up to 3 seconds.
Fair enough. I'm wondering if Wyans might be slowly feeling a problem with his car. Ferry is really gaining on him now. 0.2 seconds away, and here is the overtake. Here we go, Jerry Ferry, the number 11 car, taking a beautiful inside line and taking Wyans for P7. That is worth a bunch of points. Well done for Jerry. And this race probably isn't over unless Wyans actually is dealing with a problem in his car.
Ferry is on a great pace right now. It's only 4 seconds back from Ted Huff, mind you. So I'm looking at Ted's lap times. Once again, talking about lap times. Cherry was 2/10 faster last time around the same as Wyans. So these two are slowly catching up to Ted. They will be catching up even more now that Ted, who is the faster of these two at the moment, is leading the duo. That means Riley can settle into the draft. Means Riley can follow another car for a moment if he doesn't overdrive it, and if he just settles for following. That's a very wide line from Cherry, and that is something that can happen very easily when you just get past another driver. Is that you lose your reference point on the braking. You're suddenly alone once again. You have to look for your brake markers, and it's easy to make slight mistakes like that. Now, no harm done, but I think Ferry and Wyans should be able to get to the back of Ted Huff in maybe 5-6 laps time, and maybe even sooner. Who knows? That all depends on how fast Jerry Ferry is in clean air.
I mean, Jerry might have just been doing that for the audience. That was a beautiful
fans,
slide. Yeah, for the fans, beautiful slide. But still, this fight is still shaping up. Wyans closing a gap there towards Ferry, so he is not giving up that position freely. He's definitely trying to catch, although he is losing time finding a good rhythm and good pace on this race now. It is lap 61 out of 85, and yeah, we are not done yet. 25 laps, 24 laps to go.
So let's talk about Niklas Kirsten for a moment, because he is our race leader and it doesn't look to me like Kirsten is about to pit in this race. He would have done so already had he been planned to do that, unless he's on a slight off strategy, taking a long first stint and then just taking about 30 laps of fuel or 20 laps of fuel later on. But yeah, a real surprise to be leading, but the Amber Collective Autosport driver is really someone who has shown up towards the later point in this race. Now he has some past sim racing experience from R-Factor 2 as well as other titles. For example, the 2024 Likas Vidra Trophy winner in some historic machinery. That was Group C machinery, actually. As with a lot of drivers, Niklas is a well-rounded guy in the sense that he will drive all sorts of machinery, not just a single type, as you see sometimes towards the more professional side of sim racing when they all have to drive a single car. But these guys are able to pick and choose, and Kirsten really showing not only his good race pace but his strategic planning as well, being able to hold down a decent pace towards the early portion when he was slower with the full car, and now that they're all pretty much more or less on same fuel, he's been able to really not only hold that lead but extend that lead a little bit each and every lap. He's lapping in the high 24s. There's two guys in this field who are in the 24s. That's Niklas Kirsten and that was Nicholas Hillebrand as well in 5th position until Hillebrand went into the 23s. But just goes to show you the consistency and the fact that he's doing exactly what he needs to hold on to this lead, to make sure that he's as comfortable as possible and can even afford a small mistake. As long as he doesn't do a Braune, then he's going to be fine.
Yeah. Oh my god, now let's not make that a thing. I'm very happy you brought up Kirsten, because we haven't talked about him a lot. He is leading very comfortably with the unfortunate accident that Braune had. 53 seconds away from Bayer, very comfortable, and has not put a foot wrong. Which again, we come back to the good old saying, hey, in order to finish you gotta wait. In order to finish first, you gotta finish, right? So I think I butchered that right there.
If you want to finish first, you have to first finish.
Yeah, it's exactly okay. Yeah, so it's
my
first
version
twice.
of it.
Yeah, it's fair enough. It doesn't matter because it means the same thing. In order to get there, to get that opportunity, to seize on that opportunity, you need to not ruin your race. And Kirsten has done exactly that, being very clean, being very thorough, and doing good laps. That is a spun car. That looks like Birchfield.
Yeah, Austin Birchfield has spun and is now losing a lot of time as he's trying to rejoin the track safely, look for any hazards, look for any dangers, finally able to get back going, the Southern Speed factory driver, and as a result of that has lost that 9th place to Dylan Andrews once again. Something that I will mention also regarding Niklas Kirsten. You know how it's always these young drivers that are taking over sim racing. You see guys like 15, 16 years old, as we see a replay of what happened to Austin Birchfield on the top right of your screens. You see 15, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds just going like the wind, having all sorts of accomplishments, already being professional sim racers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it is kind of inspiring though. Such a young age, and then being able to drive. I mean, honestly, at this level, I would say, because these cars are not easy to handle.
No, but I will mention about Niklas Kirsten. He discovered the world of sim racing, in his own words, back in the mid-1990s.
Okay.
So that would have been like IndyCar Racing 2, then later on Toka, Grand Prix Legends, I believe other sims involved in that period of time as well. And had his first sim racing career sort of back in the early mid-2000s. That was the time of Live for Speed. That was the time when you had R-Factor hadn't yet come out, so you had F1 Challenge.
LFS, that is good memories.
Yeah, good memories around from those times. I remember NASCAR Racing 2003 season as well. Like that was my first sim. Well, Live for Speed and R-Factor were the first, but like the first I did competitive online racing. And then he sort of had a break, which I understand because people get busy. You see that a lot of time. And then he got back to sim racing in 2022. So
oh wow! So only a couple of years ago he got back into it.
Yeah. So for a driver like that, who has been there, seen it all, first got the taste of sim racing 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Back when Backstreet Boys were cool. Okay, they were never cool.
Hey, don't attack me like that. I'm also that old. So let's get back to the race because Nicholas Hillebrand is absolutely slamming new laps in. 23.086.
Wow.
Fastest lap by Nicholas Hillebrand. He is back on the hunt. This race, 20 laps to go, is not over for Nicholas. Hillebrand is absolutely attacking Danny Voerman, who has a 4-second gap towards Nicholas. But considering he only pitted a couple, maybe 10 laps ago or something, yes, he might have some power left in that car.
Yeah, definitely has. We know he has the pace. We saw it early on that he has the pace. He did the pit stop, and now he's been able to find some added confidence. And it takes time for you to get your confidence back, especially if you make the same type of mistake multiple times under braking. You keep making mistakes. Naturally, that's going to slow you down. Because you either keep making those mistakes and effectively ruining your own race, or you have to slow down and try to find your grips until you find that confidence, find that new method, then start sort of pushing the limit once again. So you have to take a different approach, and that is exactly what Hillebrand has been able to do as this race has progressed, and right now he is reaping the rewards in that he is only 3 seconds back from Danny Foreman. And that gap was over 10 earlier on.
Yes, and as we are talking about it, that gap is closing because he just did a fastest Sector 3 once more, 1:23.035. So that is another increase. Nicholas Hillebrand absolutely flying, and this strategy might just work out perfectly for him as he's slowly trying to catch Voerman, which will still 2.5 seconds out, but this race is not done yet. We're still talking about 19 laps to go here. So Nicholas definitely on a hunt for a fight.
He absolutely is, and once again fastest lap of the race, a 1:22.
Oh my god, he
0.87.
actually broke the 23 barrier. Fantastic.
Just, we are on board with Nicholas Hillebrand, and I believe we should be on board with him. Just enjoy this for a lap or so.
Honestly, can we make this an FX lap? Just make it a lot, the noise, increase the noise. Let's listen to this engine as it roars down the straights. And that is another fastest lap, 1:22.87. Beautiful engine roars from Nicholas Hillebrand there. Following Danny Voerman, a gap close to 0.66 right now. And that is a fight shaping up to be had later, maybe this lap, but perhaps in the next few laps. As we still have about 17 laps to go in this race. Yeah, this fight ain't over yet. 17 laps is a good amount of laps still. We are passing some traffic here. Danny Voerman and Nicholas Hillebrand following closely. 0.2 now as we are shaping up with this fight. I think Nicholas Hillebrand might be going for this overtake soon, but this is a one hell of a fight right now. Danny Voerman definitely feeling that pressure, seeing that red car all over his mirrors, the number 6 by Nicholas Hillebrand, slapping in fastest lap after fastest lap. Let's see how this shapes up.
Also, I believe Ted Huff made, just no need to go to it, but Ted Huff made a mistake in Sector 1. That was the yellow flag, and Cherry Ferry was able to get the overtake done for 6th place. But yeah, we're watching this fight, and rightfully so, because Hillebrand is absolutely on it. Let's see how that car goes down the straight line.
Oh, so close. Goes for it, the inside move. Does he have the overlap? Oh, that's a bit of a wiggle, but he made it stick. Nicholas Hillebrand takes over. Denny Voorman in for P4 now. Not on the podium yet, but this fight ain't over. We have a yellow in Sector 2.
I believe that's Godrecki making a slight mistake, because Hillebrand was catching him a lot in that sector, so that might be Godrecki with a slight mistake, nothing too dramatic, able to get back going. So yeah, about mention, 16 laps to go or so, and Godrecki is 13.5 seconds ahead of Nicholas Hillebrand. Now normally we wouldn't be calling that a fight, but when you look at the lap times, Franek Godrecki, and all credit to him, he's been very consistent in this race, being able to keep the car on track, avoid mistakes. As a result, he's holding on the podium. But Nicholas Hillebrand has been lapping, his fastest lap is 2.5 seconds faster, and even his overtake lap was over 2 seconds faster than Frank Godrecki. So right now, Hillebrand is not settling for fourth by any means. He is looking to catch this man. For Amber Collective Motorsport, he is looking to catch Franek Godrecki, and we might see that battle unfold in about 7-8 laps time, if it goes like this.
Oh, that would be crazy, because Franek Godrecki absolutely didn't put a foot wrong following Bayer there, but a 16-second gap there. Hillebrand absolutely slapping in fast laps. Last lap was a 1:23.2, not close to his fastest lap yet, but Franek Godrecki indeed on average about a second or two slower than that. Nicholas Kirsten is also putting in 1:25s, and so is Martin Bayer, so they're pretty much on pace. But Nicholas Hillebrand with that pit stop, underfueled, fresh tires, probably on fire right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention something regarding Godrecki and regarding Hillebrand. Those guys used to be teammates. They used to be racing like a virtual endurance championship. And they used to race together in virtual endurance championship together. They're not teammates in this series. Godrecki and Hillebrand driving for different teams. Hillebrand for Scuderia Favero and Franek Godrecki for Amber Collective. But yeah, they've been racing together in the past, they know each other very well, and I'm sure it would mean a lot for Godrecki to be able to beat Hillebrand, but right now Hillebrand's pace is just something else in this race.
Yeah, gap is closed down in the time we were talking to 9 seconds. It's not enough for an overtake, that's not enough to call it an actual fight, especially as Hillebrand is now losing a little bit towards the 10 seconds. Not entirely sure if that's just a bad sector, but we'll see how that goes as it comes down again. This fight ain't over because we have plenty more racing to go. 14 laps left in this race. And yeah, we'll see towards the end of this race, maybe in a lap or 10, if they can actually get that fight going. Hillebrand now catching back on, 8-second difference to Godrecki. And yeah, this is shaping up to be an end of the race fight.
It absolutely is, and not only an end of the race fight, but a fight for final podium spot, which is of course what we like to see. Gaps developing elsewhere, and as Ferry got the pass done on Ted Huff, it is really the O, and we see a mistake in the lap car there, and Nicholas Kirsten. Now Nicholas is at this point probably wondering, okay, we got something like 14 laps to go. We're towards the end of this race, just don't make a mistake, and also be very extra careful with lapped cars.
Yeah, as we see this gap between Hillebrand and Godrecki dropping down to 7 seconds, so he is definitely on the hunt. Voorman also only 5 seconds away from Hillebrand, but that probably is not enough to call that a fight for later on this race. I think my eyes currently are on Hillebrand and seeing if he can bring that down to a second, so we can actually have a final part of this race fight. As for the rest of this track has kind of settled in. Ted Ho has been 1.7 seconds away from Ferry. Not entirely sure if that's going to shape up to a fight, but that might also turn into a fight for the end of this race, as Ted Ho has gone a bit wide. That yellow was for him, but has already been recovered. Well done, nicely held.
Yeah. Ted made that mistake earlier on, which allowed Cherry Ferry to get through, but since then, Ted's been picking up his pace just a tiny bit and is actually trying very hard to hold on. He did the fastest middle sector of his race, and despite that mistake, was actually fastest he's ever been in this race through the last sector. Gained 4/10 last time around on Cherry, so definitely not over just yet. Meanwhile, Romy de Vos has just spun out, is already back going, but has spun out in the second sector. But that's inconsequential at this moment in time. Sadly, will not most likely be scoring any points here in this race. So we're keeping a side eye on Ferry and Ho, and we are very much keeping an eye on Godrecki and Hillebrand, because that gap is now down to 5.5.
Oh my, 5.5 seconds, and we've got 13 laps to go. Yeah, this is definitely shaping up to become a fight. Danny Foreman, 6.6 seconds now to Hillebrand. I think that gap is increasing, so I think Danny Foreman is not back in this race, or is not able to put on this race. 7 seconds now. Maybe he'll come back and he'll just use this as an opportunity to save a bit of fuel right now. But Nico Hillebrand now 4 seconds towards Godrecki. This is yeah, it's a few laps until we get an actual fight here. So this is probably your last call to get that final drink and a snack before the end of this race, because this final battle is not done yet.
No, absolutely is, absolutely is. Racing to the sunset here at East London as well. Beautiful scenery here. We see Hillebrand using absolutely every inch and then some of the racetrack, just in the...
Yeah, so Nicholas Hillebrand then closing that gap 3.5 seconds and dipping a wheel into the grass there, but absolutely no issues. Looking towards that fight as he gets that gap down to 3 seconds now to Godrecki. What lap time is he doing? 24.9. That is still fantastic pace, about 2 seconds faster than Godrecki. So this fight is definitely getting closer.
It is very much getting closer. So you can just see, apologies for the slight mishap there. Just had a bit of a description
Nobody
of
noticed
the cable
until you
sword.
noticed.
Until I said it.
Until you said, yeah, it's fine.
Yes. I'm always the honest kind. If I make a mistake, I admit
It's
it.
fine. You
Yeah,
didn't
right.
make a mistake. You just happened. So we're back in this race. We are now down to 2 seconds in Nicholas Hillebrand on Godrecki. So this final part of the race is shaping up. I'd say 2 laps until we see an overtake, or at least an attempt at a little sniff of a gearbox.
And look at that duo. Look at that lapped car as well in front of Hillebrand, just getting nicely, very nicely indeed out of the way. Great job there. Just not getting involved in this battle in any way, shape or form. Realizing the situation, realizing that neither of these guys can allow to lose a tenth of time at this moment. You can just see how Hillebrand is on the chase, seeing that car of Godrecki get closer and closer each and every lap. And it's such a wonderful feeling for a racing driver. It's in any sport, really. The best feeling is when you know you're catching up to another guy. You know that you're faster than them. You know you're about to get them. That's what everybody lives for.
But then put yourself in the position of Godrecki, as you can see that red car in your mirrors getting larger and larger, getting closer, as we actually have that fight we've been talking about on our hands right now. Godrecki must not be feeling very well here, because this fight, it seems like there's nothing he can do. He can make himself wide, as he did just perfectly right there, positioning the car perfectly on the track, so Hillebrand can take him, but right now already has overlap, and I think that power and that lower fuel level is right now just paying off as Hillebrand takes off into the sunset.
Yeah, it's also worth noting, you saw how easy that overtake was, and it's worth noting that the car that Godrecki is driving is effectively one of those EVEs that you saw earlier on in the Formula B race, only that it's with a slightly bigger engine. So it's one of those that Nicholas talked about, where you effectively put a 2-liter or 2.8-liter engine into a Formula B chassis. You have to use some ballast, but it's a Formula B car with a bigger engine. It's still underpowered compared to the rest of them. So Hillebrand with the Scarini, he has 360 horsepower under his right foot. Now, what does Godrecki have? 260.
So that's not really a fair fight, is it? But then definitely big props off to Godrechki for sticking on to P4 with a gap of 8 seconds to Danny Fourman. Of course, this race ain't over. We have some laps going, 10 laps to go, as we see on the screen now. But Danny Fourman making up 10 or like 8 seconds in 10 laps, maybe not. So Godrechki, absolutely well done on that positioning. And Hillebrand now taking off into the sunset, trying to hunt Bayer with a 20-second gap. I think that might be just a bit too much of hay, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too, because the lap time difference isn't that much. Hillebrand is faster than Bayer, but he's not faster by a long shot. He's about half a second faster per lap, which means if you look at it, 9 laps to go, half a second faster, 20-second gap, yeah, that's not going to happen unless Bayer makes a mistake. That's the only thing. Now, what I would keep an eye on is once again that battle for 6th place between Cherry Ferry and Ted Ho, because Ted's been consistently less than 2 seconds behind ever since the overtake happened. He's been able to once again catch a 10th here, another tear. You can see Ferry there getting very sideways indeed, probably not feeling super happy with his car at this moment. I mentioned earlier how the car's getting light. And in every exit, every time Cherry goes on the throttle, you can see him struggling just a tiny bit. And every time he slides, every time you can see Ted Ho getting just a tiny bit closer.
Yeah, it looks like an uncomfortable part of the finishing of the race. Oh, that looked like a little bit of a blip. What happened there? Okay, doesn't matter. We'll ignore that. But you can see Ferry absolutely not having a good time. Following Ho now by 0.8. You can see that the car is just not gripping, just not biting the way he wants it to.
Not at all. Might have been just a slight mishap. We missed going under the grass. And yeah, once again, some technical issues for Cherry Ferry there, unfortunately. So that might play a hand into an already difficult situation for him. Regardless, Ted Ho now able to get the pass done and up into 6th place. Some very, very good points up there in offer for Ted Ho and Cherry Ferry both. And I tell you what, every driver who makes it over the finish line, makes it to the checkered flag today, shall be proud of their achievement, because it's been a difficult race. It's been a race of attrition. It's been an endurance race, as we said so many times. You can see Ted Ho just going a little bit wide inconsequentially, as it turns out, because Ferry was not able to catch too much there, and just a difficult one indeed.
Ooh, some lagging for Jerry Ferry indeed, and this race has been a race of attrition. It has been more of an endurance race than anything else I've seen. These cars are just so difficult to handle. It is such a different way of racing that we are used to right now. And it's beautiful to see, because the absolute level of skill to keep it out of the wall, keep it on the track, and actually not make any contact with any other cars by most of the drivers we've seen so far has been extraordinary. So it is a beautiful ending towards this race as we have 7 laps to go. Nicholas Kirsten out in front with a comfortable 47-second gap towards Bayer in P2.
Yeah, and Kirsten is starting to enjoy that gap a little bit, taking his time with all the lapped cars, taking his time. You can see the last time, well, you can't see, but we can see the last lap, which was up 27.2 compared to Bayer behind 24.8. That would be alarming normally, but again, he has the gap, so I think he has realized that, okay, I have come to the situation in a race where I can now start settling it down a little bit. The car is more difficult to handle than it was early on for Niklas. It's come to the point in the race where it's getting really light. You might want to save some fuel just to be sure. You want to make sure that you don't do any extra mistakes. So right now Kirsten is doing the cruising portion of the race, and I don't think many people thought that Nicholas Kirsten would be able to cruise towards the checkered flag at the end point of this race, but then it just goes to show you how all that experience he has throughout all those years. And then again, as he restarted sim racing a couple of years ago, he has been able to find all that confidence, getting into the grips with new technology and everything else, and how that is starting to pay out in a race like this, where many drivers who on paper would be faster, who on paper would be the favorites, have turned out to crash out either by their own volition or due to a technical issue. it's been Niklas Kirsten that's been able to hang tough and hang on.
Absolutely. Like in every race, it is about keeping that car on the track, and that sounds so easy, but with these difficult historic cars, it is really not that easy to do. So beautiful skill, and you got to put yourself into that position to be able to actually do it. So right now you get the sun in your eyes as you reach that corner. Darren Andrews just experienced that as the most recent one. But yeah, that is also one of the factors that makes this race just a little bit more challenging towards the end, where you're not only having a lighter car, you have tires that might be used up a little bit, your concentration might be lapsing, you might be getting a bit tired, you know, and then you also get that sun in your eyes. Like it's all these little factors that make racing at this level in these conditions just so extremely challenging.
No, they absolutely do, and this is where experience, as we mentioned so many times, proves invaluable, because if you've been there before, if you've been in these late race moments, whether it's endurance racing, dealing with different conditions, or whether it's just doing longer races in various leagues, anywhere really, that experience will come in handy at this moment in time, because you've been there before, you know what to do, you know what to expect before the race starts. But if you're going into this situation for the first time, then it's very easy to make a mistake. It's very easy to, you know, when you're trying to learn something new every lap, when you're trying to deal with changing circumstances,
somebody went on a bit of an
situations.
expedition.
That's Riley Wyans, and that's Riley Wyans, and that's Andrews getting a position. So Darren
into the points.
Yeah, Darren Andrews was able to get the final points-paying position away from Riley Wyans with just 6 laps to go.
That is just bad luck for Ryan Wyans there. Riley Wyans, my bad. Yeah, just a bit of an expert. Oh, and again, something might be wrong. We might be dealing with a little bit of a problem here. Like these might be overheating brakes. And there's somebody else in the back. No, that's just a safety road. So Riley Wyans absolutely not having a great finish towards this race. Might be overtaken there by Bergfield.
And is.
And what is going on? He might be dealing with an actual problem.
Yeah, he absolutely will be, because that's just the brakes gone at this point, some sort of mechanical failure, or could be technical failure, could be just a, you know, physical hardware issue. Whatever the case, that's very much heartbreaking for Riley Wyans, who was in the points with just a few laps to go, and then suddenly you find yourself in 10th place with no chance to catch up and potentially having a difficult time finishing this race. He's into the pit lane.
He might actually have to DNF this one.
Yeah.
If you were in his shoes right now, would you go for that finish, so at least you have to finish, even though you're far out of the points?
Yeah, you want to finish. You always want to finish.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
You come so far.
Yeah, and tried so hard.
You come so far and tried so hard, and in the end, it
didn't even matter. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really heartbreaking there for Wyans, who also gave us earlier in this race, gave us a massive fight with Gardner. Beautiful fight there, but unfortunately Gardner had to DNF and failed to finish this race. Wyans out of the pits now, 40-second gap to Bergfield. That is heartbreak, but unfortunately that is also racing sometimes.
Yep, sometimes you get the good luck, sometimes you get the bad luck, and some drivers will say, well, if they didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck at all. Whatever the case, Martin Beyer here in 2nd place. Haven't talked much about him. It's been a relatively quiet one for Martin Beyer, I would say, but just 2nd place. He's gonna be very, very happy indeed, beating his teammate Hillebrand and being able to get a podium here. Well, most likely beating his teammate, because Hillebrand is 11.5 seconds behind. A double podium coming up for Scuderia Favero. And I mean, Beyer is one of those sim racers who is by civil trade an engineer. And that seems to me to be quite common. Like I've met more engineers in sim racing circles than I would have probably met anywhere else. But in any case, a little bit more about Martin Beyer. He's only started really in 2022, and he's been improving a lot since then, driving the got into the Scarini program, got into the Scarini team, being able to learn from some more experienced teammates. But this is going to be a name where if he's going to be able to start his season with a second place, getting those points going, getting 9 points to the championship already in round number 1, then he's going to be a force to look out for. Because when you look at drivers like Bayer who don't have that massive experience before this year, mind you, only 3 years of experience, and that is from various leagues. That's not the kind of experience where you can say, okay, you have learned everything that you can. No, you have learned only very little. And as you progress throughout the season, you learn more and more and more as the season progresses, as you get to different kind of circuits. So definitely a great start of the season for Bayer as well, as we were earlier watching Riley Wyans, who is now into the pit lane, completing a 33.7 second pit stop, 18.5 seconds stationary, and able to get back going in 9th place. Birchfield has also DNF'd, meaning that Wyans is in 9th, Andrews is now in 8th, and the leader of this race, as he has been for the last 30 laps or so, Niklas Kirsten. He only has to cruise for 2 more laps after this one, and what a finish it would be. It's gonna be a celebrated win for this driver, I'm sure of that. The Amber Collective Autosport race and Amber Collective Autosport driver Niklas Kirsten, he's just really showing his experience, Björn, his professionalism, and the way he's handled this race after he's got into the lead. It doesn't seem like he's too fast. I know he's probably inside he's bursting, inside he's gonna be like, only a couple of more laps to go, come on, no technical issues. He's gonna be so excited. But on the exterior, it looks like he's managing this so calmly and collectively.
It looks so comfortable, doesn't it? Like a 44-second gap towards your next competitor really doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen just because he got himself into the right position, into the right state of mind, and into the right part on this race, just to be able to drive off like that. Of course, he had luck. He was a bit lucky. He had some DNFs in front of him, but that doesn't change that this fight is made because he didn't make any mistakes. Kept his car on the road at all times. 2 laps to go, and yeah, Niklas Kirsten is definitely looking comfortable right now. A 43-second gap really gives you the opportunity to not push, to not make any mistakes, just to take it easy. And if you have the right state of mind here, yeah, you're in for a win. There's just nobody can ruin your day anymore.
Well, have you heard this term of commentator's curse?
I mean, trying not to, but like I just don't see how he's gonna mess this up, right? Like I'm looking at the skill, looking at how he's handled it perfectly. Didn't put a foot wrong here. Of course, we can commentate curse him, but I think he's looking very, very solid for this win.
Absolutely is. So on board with him as he starts the final lap of this race. Niklas Kirsten out of Germany. Let me recap once again the kind of journey this man has been through. He was already started sim racing in the mid-1990s. He's an old-timer, been around for ages. Had his first career back in the early 2000s, back when some of these drivers weren't even born yet. A lot of drivers have gone on to national championships, have gone on to world tier professional sim racing, who have been born well after Niklas Kirsten has already did his first laps in Live for Speed, did his first laps in R Factor, way back in the day. Then he got back to sim racing in 2022, competing again in 2023, and right now, as he's going around this beautiful East London circuit in South Africa, in the sunset, looking as the sun goes under the horizon, driving his Amber Collective Autosport car, his Beagle, his very much trusty Beagle, for just one more corner that is remaining. He is going to be so happy that he made that decision, that he rediscovered his love, his passion, his effort for this wonderful sport. Niklas Kirsten coming across the finish line, and he is going to win the historic racing sport community Open Wheel Racing Series, round number 1 at East London. Put your hands together. That was a performance we will remember.
Absolutely beautiful driving by Nicholas Kirsten. Well-deserved win with a 30-second gap to Bayer as he comes down into the final sector. Followed closely by Nicholas Hillebrand, 3 seconds behind, but this race is over as they come in to the final part and the final corner. And here we go, P2 for Bayer, for Martin Bayer, and P3 for Nicholas Hillebrand. Beautiful race and a perfect salvage of this race, starting from P2, but finishing on the podium. Absolutely beautifully done.
It is, and then we have Nicholas Hillebrand and Franek Godrecki driving this car. Mind you, this is a Formula B car with just a slightly more powerful engine. I say slightly more powerful engine. It still got a lot of power, but nowhere near these proper Formula A cars. And Franek Godrecki finishing just outside of the podium in 4th place in underpowered machinery that will surely show up better in tracks like Monaco, for example, is an achievement. Just a second ahead of Danny Foreman in 5th place, who was also able to finish well here. Then it's Ted Ho and Cherry Ferry and the others as we get to the final standings of this race, Björn. And it's, well, it was a race of many stories. It was a race of drama. A race of tragedy, a race of triumph, a race of attrition first and foremost. And we saw really what we are to expect from this 10-race season. Because, yeah, it's for anyone who finished, anyone you see on this list, hats off. But to Nicholas Kirsten especially, he'll be spraying the champagne on the top step of the podium, on the middle point, as a point of pride, as the toast of East London for tonight. Martin Bayer in 2nd place and Nicholas Hillebrand finishing in the end on the podium after a very, very difficult race that he had to endure. Franek Godrecki in 4th, Danny Foreman in 5th and Ted Ho in 6th place. Cherry Ferry 7th place for Lithuania, Darren Andrews in 8th, Riley Wyans in 9th, and Robin DeFos, I believe, the last driver to finish in 10th position.
We have a P11 for David Baca Celadon, beautiful name too, Automex. In P11, out of the points unfortunately, but then we have the story of this race with the rest of our DNFs. Austin Bergfield, Devin Braune leading this race for a long time, but then finally, unfortunately, losing the car into a wall. Bert Knops driving with 3 wheels, not allowed, and then therefore asked to retire. Fleur, Simoncic, of course, maybe one of the favorites, losing the car too. Gardner with a beautiful fight we were watching for a long time. Matty Shepard losing the car, and Jackson Robillard, probably a technical DNF, I'm not entirely sure, but here we are. What a race it's been, Osjan.
What a race indeed. And now we get to talk to the winner of this event. Nicholas Kirsten, you mentioned in the bio, you originally started sim racing back in mid-1990s. That's a time when a lot of us weren't even born. And I'm not trying to make you feel old here, I swear. You got back in 2022, 2023 for proper sim racing, and I believe right now, as you're standing here on the top step of the podium, being interviewed as a race winner of round number 1, you must be happy you made that choice.
Yes, of course. I'm very happy I made the choice. Was a lot of fun in the past, 2.5 years or so, and this race as well.
How did that race go for you? How did it shape up? Because, of course, you didn't make any mistakes there, but of course you had to be a bit lucky with the people in front of you having their problems in their sense. How did that shape up for you during the race? How did you feel? At what time in the race did you feel like, oh, I might actually win this?
Well, at the beginning of the race, I was quite slow and had a lot of traffic behind me, so I was just hoping that that those cars were on a lighter fuel load and would stop at half distance. I think a lot of them did. Yeah, of course I was lucky because basically everyone in front of me either dropped out or pitted, and I didn't pit. And yeah, once I was in the lead, I think I had a 50-second lead over Martin or so, and from that point I was quite confident to stay there.
Fantastically done. You mentioned you didn't pit at all. Was that your strategy from the start, or did that just occur naturally during the race?
Yeah, I tried in practice both with full tank and half a tank, and with half a tank I couldn't quite extract the pace from the car that I would have needed to make it work. So I decided to go non-stop.
Absolutely, well done. Niklas, Kirsten, I don't think we can ever get close to that feeling of winning that race. Can you describe to us how does it feel and how do you feel for the rest of the season?
Obviously, I'm extremely happy right now. For the rest of the season, well, let's see. I think there are few car-driver combinations out there that are quicker than I am. And yeah, the next race will be extremely difficult, of course, in Monaco. Yeah, but I will try my best to finish and maybe get another podium.
That would be lovely to see. We'll be looking for you, Niklas, Kirsten, in the next race. Thank you so much. Enjoy that champagne and very much enjoy your first win of the first race in this season. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And next up, we already have the second place finisher of this race, and that would be Martin Bayer. Well, Martin, you are someone who has started his sim racing career in a bit of an eccentric way, because you come from the world of automation and designing cars before you decided, hey, I might want to drive them myself.
Yeah, but well, I did sim racing 10 years ago. Then I had a major break when I started working with the devs on automation, and then HRSC, basically GP Labs and HRSC, brought me back into rFactor 2.
So when are we gonna get superchargers in automation?
They are there.
Oh yeah, I haven't played in a couple of years. My girlfriend actually loves that game, so.
But before Christmas.
Yeah. So Martin, how about this race? It seemed a little bit lonely for you towards the latter half, but it probably looked a lot easier than it really was. A lot of drivers having difficulties here on the East London track, race 1 of the season. Tell us about how your race went.
Well, I was not really lonely. I just couldn't see. It was so dark, and I had massive leg spikes going towards the sun. So the second half of the race was really hard for me. I just had single-digit frames in all of the infield. So I was really happy to keep it on the road and to keep P2, and with everything that happened all around me with all of the quick guys. That was so P2 is way out above my expectation.
Yeah, but it's the points that count in the end, and it's only the finishing that matters. You are teammates with Niklas Hillebrand, who has worked very hard for this series, of course. We talked with Niklas during the Formula B race, but how has that turned out? Do you know Niklas from beforehand, or was this Scuderia Favero partnership something that only sprung up for this season?
Well, we did, I think we all met at HRSC, at GP Labs, and then we did Historic Sim Racing Organization. I did this. I also met Nico twice or 3 times already in real life. So we just said, we planned for the same car, why not team up? So it was a coincidence that we had the same car choice, I'd say.
Yeah. But still, must be great to get a double podium for the team for round 1. And how about the next one? We talked a lot with these drivers. How are they looking forward to our next round? Because it's going to be Monte Carlo, it's going to be Monaco, and that's not an easy task.
I love the track except for the harbor chicane. But yeah, let's see how it goes. We will get a car upgrade, so the Ferrari will be upgraded. We get a few horsepower more, so hopefully that will also help. But again, this will be a race of attrition. Just finish, get a P5 or something, that would be really nice.
That would be absolutely lovely. But I think we might see you on the podium again. Let's see. Anyway, congratulations, Martin, for the second place, and good luck for Monaco.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So that's Martin Beyer in second, and I believe it's Björn next up with an interview of somebody you know quite well.
Well, yes. Welcome, Nico, and welcome back on the podium. How did that race go, starting from P2 but finishing in P3? Not trying to rain on your parade. Let me just say that first, because you did a beautiful job there. But how do you feel right now?
I mean, it technically started from P4. I just got a really stupendously good start, but I always knew that I wasn't going to be able to match the Brabhams in pace. It's really unfortunate what happened with them in the race. You never want to see strong opponents go out like that. But I had some smaller issues basically with a bit of brake consistency. Setup wasn't properly set up for that, and then I had very hard braking, and all of a sudden a friend of mine, Austin Batchfield, basically hit me in the rear, broke the suspension, and that was a 70-second pit stop. But after that, I had new tires, new suspension, and a lighter car, so it helped quite a bit with catching back up.
Okay, so that is an interesting part I'd like to delve into, because we saw your pit stop. We thought it was planned, but you're telling me it wasn't planned. You had an unplanned pit stop there.
Yeah, I was gonna run the race without a pit stop completely, but you have to adapt to the situation. If it was basically undamaged, or if it was just rear bodywork, I probably would have kept up going, even though the tires were quite shot. But with the rear suspension as it was basically impossible, I'd say, to keep on driving. So I very quickly just got back into the pit lane, and luckily pit crew could fix that up. And luckily with my teammate Martin, he had a far better race and was able to translate that into a better result as well.
I mean, honestly, hats off to you, because we were looking at your times as you were in the last part of this race, and your times were coming down. You were so fast. So was that not part of the original strategy, and how did you attack that final part of the race? Because getting back on the podium, beautifully done, congratulations there. But was that always part of the plan?
No, it absolutely was not planned. Thank you very much again for the congratulations. It was a decent recovery drive overall, but the new tires helped quite a bit. And when you then have pretty much half of the fuel capacity left that you basically had, and then some, so I could basically push quite a lot. Still had to look that I don't blow up the engine, obviously, but overall, I think without the race, without the pit stop, I still overall would have been faster. And ideally without all the two spins beforehand as well.
Of course. Hey, congratulations on the P3. How are you looking towards the rest of the season? This is, of course, race 1. We've got 9 more races to go. What are your thoughts?
I think this was the toughest one. A lot of issues with obviously with connection, with people having connection issues. Gonna look into that before the next race, obviously. So hopefully we're gonna have a better, more pleasant experience for everyone in that. But I mean, East London is a very challenging track overall. The hard braking zones are quite difficult to land all the time, and half of the fast corners don't really have a visual marker for the turn-in point other than turn 1. So it's a tough racetrack. Ironically enough, I'm looking more forward to Monaco.
All right, fair enough. Thank you very much, Nicholas Hillebrand, and enjoy your podium and champagne for P3.
Thank you very much.
Well, I believe that concludes our broadcast, at least our interviews for tonight. Thank you very much to our entire crew doing the broadcast out here. It hasn't been a short one, but it's been a good one, and we've enjoyed watching all these drivers throughout the day. Thank you very much to the historic racing sports community as well. They host a plethora of wonderful series and are truly an homage to the golden years of motorsport. So if you are looking to join some historic action yourself, make sure to check out HRSC HRSC. You can see them top right of your screen, and you can join their Discord as well, and you can find a series which you will enjoy and join in and join these people, and I promise you, you will have a great time. I was joined with Björn. I was joined with Nicholas as well for the early portion of this broadcast. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, doing the work of 5 men, bringing you this audio and this video. I've been Ossian Puhakka. See you next time. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Good night.